LoveLore Library. Chapter 833. Yang Ming didn't know that Lu Jihao actually had such an opportunity to meet the people of the Ouyang family, but even if he knew, it didn't matter. Yang Ming didn't put the Hawkeye group of the Ouyang family in his eyes from beginning to end. After all, this was not his territory. Yang Ming told Zhang Bin not to go out in these 2 days. If he wanted to eat something, let the hotel's waiter send it to the room. Everything had to be done in a low-key manner. Zhang Bin also knew the importance of the matter and nodded seriously. He didn't want to trouble Yang Ming. After all, Zhang Bin was never vague about the overall situation. Wang Mei was also surprisingly honest. She began to be cautious in front of Yang Ming. She didn't tease him when she saw Yang Ming. She didn't dare to joke about Huang Lele. However, after Wang Mei saw Yang Ming's net worth, she sincerely blessed Huang Lele. At least, Lele wouldn't be wronged if she followed him, right? Of course, not being able to go out was limited to Zhang Bin. Yang Ming was not afraid of anything. Even if Lu Jihao wanted to do something to Yang Ming, he had to have the strength. Yang Ming lay on the bed in the hotel room and looked at the empty bed beside him. He was a little dumbfounded. This Zhang Bin, who just stayed for 2 days, left the bed empty again. In fact, Lu Jihao's strength was not great. The gangs in Macau were very complicated. After 1999, most of them began to turn to legitimate industries, but those underground money houses still existed. The operators had also changed from the original big gangs to the current small gangs. The people under Lu Jihao were one of them. Although they had some power, they were not big. They could only speak in a limited area. But for the face of money, how could Lu Jihao not work hard? Lu Jihao took out 200,000 yuan and gave it to his men. He asked them to find some good gang friends to inquire about the whereabouts of Yang Ming. He also made some copies of Wang Mei's photos and gave them to his men. In his opinion, Wang Mei must be with Yang Ming and the others. Although the underlings acted, how could it be so easy to find a person in a big city? What's more, the number of people doing this was limited. They could only inquire from hotel to hotel. Because of the gang forces, many hotels that had no direct relationship with them did not put them in their eyes. Most of the hotels here also had the shadow of the gang, so they basically did not buy these people's accounts. Therefore, there was little progress in one night. This made Lu Jihao very anxious, but there was no other way. I'm not the police, and I can't post things like a wanted poster. At night, he would probably be able to meet Shuya. Yang Ming's mood could be said to have never been so nervous. What kind of feeling is this? Yang Ming himself couldn't explain it clearly. Excited. Confused. Nostalgic. Expectant. In the end, Yang Ming wants to TSS, he after all. In this groggy state, he waited until 9:30 in the evening. Then, his mobile phone text message rang. Yang Ming touched the mobile phone and opened the text message with some excitement. Sure enough, it was from Shuya. The concert celebration banquet has just ended. I'm at the variety show hall. Where are you? Yang Ming smiled and replied with a message, wait for me. I will come to you. When Shuya sent a text message for the first time today, Yang Ming knew that a tacit understanding had been established between the two people. Although Shuya's mobile phone number was changed, and the person who sent the text message did not say who she was, Yang Ming was still sure that this person was Shuya. After greeting Zhang Bin, Yang Ming hurried downstairs. There were taxis at the entrance of the hotel waiting for guests 24 hours a day. Yang Ming got in the car in front and told the name of the variety show hall. The driver started the car and quickly left the hotel. Wait for me at the back door of the variety show hall. When he got in the car, Shuya's text message came again. Sir, go to the back door of the variety show hall. Yang Ming added. Okay. Although the driver didn't understand why Yang Ming wanted to go to the back door, he didn't ask much. Generally, except for the staff there, very few people went to the back door. Yang Ming got out of the car and looked around. There was no one nearby, so he found a bench to rest and sat down first. It seemed that Shuya's matter hadn't been dealt with yet. Sitting on the bench, Yang Ming's thoughts couldn't help but return to that winter. He and Suya were also sitting on a bench, but the location was by the Sea of Songjiang. The sea breeze was blowing in his face, and he was thinking about the future of the two. The feeling of the tender and inexperienced love was still unforgettable. After a long time, soft footsteps sounded. Yang Ming returned to reality from his memories. Someone came over. Yang Ming looked up subconsciously. A girl in white was walking slowly to this side. Although it was far away and Yang Ming didn't use his special ability, Yang Ming was sure that she wasn't Shuya. Even if he couldn't see clearly, the outlines of the two faces were different. Yang Ming was about to shift his gaze away, but his eyes suddenly focused. A person in his memory suddenly emerged in his mind, and gradually overlapped with the person who was walking over. Yang Ming was stunned. His whole person was stunned. So when the girl came closer, Yang Ming still looked at her in a daze. Although the person in front of him was more beautiful and didn't have the original childishness, Yang Ming could still recognize that she was Suya. It was the real Suya, not the big star Suya. Suya seemed to be very proud of Yang Ming's current reaction. Her mouth was slightly raised with a playful smile. Chapter 834. Although the winter in Macau was much warmer than Songjiang, the temperature in the middle of the night was still relatively low. A cold wind blew on their faces and messed up Suya's bangs. Are you cold? Yang Ming gently raised his hand and put it around Suya's waist. Suya shook her head and leaned on Yang Ming. I have gotten used to the climate here. Why didn't you tell me before that you are her? Yang Ming said it very vaguely, but the person involved would definitely understand. You know. Suya lowered her head. Because of Chen Mengyan. Yang Ming also faintly guessed this reason. She used to be, but not now. Suya smiled and shook her head beautifully. Because I talked to Mengyan. Talked to? You too. Yang Ming widened his eyes in surprise. At this moment, he was really surprised. Chen Mengyan had actually reached an agreement with Suya before me. Sometimes, the things between women were really incomprehensible. Suya actually told Chen Mengyan her identity. When we were in Songjiang, I didn't let her tell you, so don't blame her. Suya said faintly. Yang Ming nodded silently. Although the two women did something behind his back, which made Yang Ming somewhat uncomfortable, it also solved a big problem. That was the balance between Chen Mengyan and Suya. Could they come up with a harmonious problem? But now, it seemed that this problem no longer existed. If it were up to him to adjust, it would be much more difficult. Right, why did you change your phone? It was a very bad topic to talk about with a woman about another woman. Change my phone. Suya was stunned. She looked at Yang Ming strangely, but she didn't answer. Instead, she asked, You didn't open the gift I gave you. Gift? No. I wanted to open it, but I met Uncle Su at the door of the hotel, so I rushed to Macau to find you. Yang Ming replied truthfully. You met my father. This time, it was Suya's turn to be surprised. She thought that Yang Ming came because he saw the gift she gave him, but now, it seemed that this was not the case. Did he tell you my identity? Yeah, otherwise, how could I be so sure? Your appearance has changed too much. Even if I have doubts, I'm not sure that you are her. said Yang Ming. It turned out to be my father. Suya suddenly said, but why is he here? Then, she said reproachfully, I think he told you about me. But didn't you think that I was wearing a mask or something? Yang Ming hesitated and smiled bitterly. I thought about it, but the reason why I was so sure that you weren't her was that I have a similar secret as you, similar to me. Suya looked at Yang Ming, baffled. Previously, she also doubted whether Yang Ming would believe that she could change her appearance through a pair of glasses, because this matter was too outrageous. However, when she met Yang Ming with Suya's real appearance, Yang Ming did not show too many doubts, and from just now until now, he had not mentioned the relevant topic. This made Suya a little puzzled. Why didn't Yang Ming have any doubts? Now, after listening to Yang Ming's words, Suya was stunned. Yang Ming also has a secret similar to mine. What would that be? This matter started when I was in my senior year in high school. For Suya, Yang Ming didn't need to hide his secret at all. First, it was because of his trust in Suya. Second, it was because Suya herself had a similar experience as him, so it was easy for others to accept it. Including Xiaoqing, Yang Ming didn't mention how he got his special abilities because the process of having special abilities was too bizarre. Most people wouldn't easily believe it. Yang Ming told Suya about the process of getting the glasses. Suya exclaimed loudly, You also have such a pair of glasses. And it sounds a bit incredible, right? But it is really a coincidence. Maybe this is the only 2 pairs of glasses in the world, and they fell on you and me respectively. Yang Ming smiled and said, It's just that the function is a little different. However, I don't know what other functions my pair of glasses have. You just said that your pair of glasses has many other functions besides X-ray vision. Suya frowned and began to think. Why? What's wrong? Yang Ming looked at Suya and immediately realized that Suya seemed to have thought of something. Sure enough, after a long while, Suya said, At that time, when Grandpa's son gave me the glasses, he said that this was a pair of glasses with incomplete and defective functions. And your glasses were guessed a long time after me. It was probably the glasses that he said had a complete function. You mean, your glasses and mine were given by the same person, Grandpa's son? Yang Ming actually had doubts in his heart that these 2 people were the same person. And, from the way you said the old man spoke and looked, it should be the case. Suya nodded. So, your glasses should be the latest complete version. You mean, my pair of glasses can also change my appearance? Yang Ming was surprised. This was something he had never thought about. For a long time, he had been exploring the abilities related to X-ray vision and telescopic vision, but he didn't pay attention to other aspects. Now that he listened to Suya's words, he was enlightened. It seemed that his vision was limited in the past, so he walked into the dead end that he set up himself. If our assumption is not wrong, then it should be like this. Suya said. After listening to Suya's words, Yang Ming was a little excited. This ability was not a small matter. If it was small, it could trick others. If it was big, it could even provoke a war between 2 countries. How do I change my appearance? I want to try. Yang Ming was very anxious. He wanted to confirm whether his pair of glasses had the function of changing his appearance. You just have to think of yourself changing into another appearance in your mind. Suya said, Mine is like this, but I'm not sure about yours. Yang Ming didn't expect it to be so simple, but thinking about it carefully, aren't my other abilities also issued by the brain? They can be achieved just by thinking about it. However, Yang Ming really didn't try it, and he simply didn't have a similar idea. But fortunately, although Yang Ming wanted to try it, he didn't forget the situation at the moment. Although there was no one nearby, Yang Ming didn't dare to casually try to change his appearance. If someone saw it, it would be a big problem. Yang Ming took off his coat and covered his head with it. He said to Suya, "I'll try to see if I can change my appearance. Help me take a look." And Suya nodded and also got into Yang Ming's coat. Yang Ming closed his eyes and began to think of the image of Zhang Bin in his mind. Yang Ming wanted to ask, but Suya said, "Oh, it's really possible." Suya exclaimed softly. "You've become your friend, really?" Yang Ming listened to Suya's words and touched his face excitedly. Sure enough, the outline had changed a lot compared to before. Quickly change back. Why do I feel weird? It was no wonder that it was inappropriate for Suya to be so close to a strange man. Yang Ming smiled and thought about himself in his mind. Only then did Suya breathe a sigh of relief. A faint fruity breath sprayed on Yang Ming's face, making him a little restless. It was a familiar smell. Anna Suya's wishing spirit, the perfume that used to be Suya's favorite. After so many years, it still hadn't changed. Originally, Yang Ming and Suya suddenly met. Although they were very excited, it was more of the joy of reuniting after a long time. Now that they were covered in clothes, the long-suppressed feelings in Yang Ming's heart were suddenly released. "Little ya." Yang Ming looked at Suya's black eyes and said softly. "N." Suya was stunned. Yang Ming hadn't called her like this for a long time. It was a very familiar feeling that made her heart beat faster. Yang Ming took the opportunity to kiss Suya's slightly raised lips with some doubts. Suya's body stiffened, and then she closed her eyes as if she had been prepared. At this moment, they had been looking forward to it for a long time. The long-lost passion burst out in an instant. The flame of love was quietly ignited in this cold winter night. Although this was Suya's first kiss, it didn't have the slightest awkwardness. Everything seemed so natural. It was more of a communication between the two of them. Even if they had just met, they weren't eager to talk about their thoughts. Instead, they talked about some private topics like lovers for many years. This was a very rare tacit understanding. Time passed by minute, but the two of them didn't feel the slightest boredom and fatigue. They hugged each other tightly and used the contact of their tongues to express their love for each other. "Old hey, I think we got a big news." Not far away, two people wearing caps and holding cameras were squatting. One of them said to the other, "Shu Zi, are you sure that person is the big star, Shuya?" The one called Old Hey asked the person who just spoke. "Of course, I'm sure. You didn't attend Shuya's celebration party just now. You don't know. Shuya was wearing this set of clothes at that time." Zhu Zi said proudly, "It must be right. Look at the height and figure. Besides, if it wasn't Shuya, who would cover her head when dating with a man? Then what should we do now?" "Just like what you said, the person's head is covered. If we take a photo, others won't believe that this is Shuya," said Old Hey. Chapter 835. "So, I will go over in a while and suddenly lift up their clothes. You take the camera and shoot. After the shoot, we will evacuate." Zhu Zi had already thought of a countermeasure. When he heard Old Hey's words, he immediately suggested, "This, is it okay?" Old Hey hesitated. After all, as a member of the paparazzi, it was okay to take photos secretly, but what Zhu Zi said was a bit against the rules. "Why not? Let me tell you. This is big news." Zhu Zi said indifferently, "Let me tell you. Once this news is published, our magazine will immediately sell. At that time, won't the bonus be counted until your hand cramps?" When it came to money, Old Hey began to be tempted. After all, who couldn't get along with money? After hesitating for a long time, he nodded and said, "Okay, then let's do it." In a while, you go over and lift up their clothes. I will take photos from behind. Old Hei's courage wasn't as big as Zhu Zi, but after thinking about it, he was only responsible for taking photos. The work of going forward was done by Zhu Zi, so there was no danger for him. After the two premeditated, they began to slowly approach Yang Ming and Suya. Speaking of which, Zhu Zi was able to succeed because Yang Ming was too immersed at the moment. Otherwise, if it were any other time, he would have been discovered by Yang Ming before he could get close to Yang Ming. However, he just approached Yang Ming when Yang Ming didn't notice him. The reunion of Yang Ming and Suya made him very surprised. Even his usual vigilance was thrown to the back of his mind at this moment. How could he have the mood to care about other things when he was kissing his lover? Zhu Zi quickly ran forward and pulled off the clothes covering Yang Ming and Suya's heads. Then, the flash suddenly lit up, and the sound of the camera shutter was endless. Ah! Zhu Zi was stunned, and Old Hei was also stunned. They originally agreed that after the photo was taken, they would quickly escape the scene together, but at this moment, they were stunned at the same time. Because they found that the person sitting there wasn't the big star Shuya. Although she was wearing the same jacket as Shuya, they definitely looked like two different people. Even if this girl was also so beautiful and even better than Shuya, she was still not Shuya after all. Only then did they realize that they had chosen the wrong person. Yang Ming was very immersed before, but if he didn't make a quick reaction at this time, then he wasn't Yang Ming. What's more, because Zhu Zi and Lao Hei had hit the wrong person, they were momentarily stunned. This gave Yang Ming more time to catch them. Just as the two of them were about to run away, Yang Ming grabbed their collars from behind. Are the two of you crazy? Zhu Zi and Old Hei didn't expect Yang Ming to be so fierce. He actually caught both of them in one shot. They were shocked, but they gave up the idea of continuing to run away. Anyway, it was a mistake. It was better to apologize to others. I'm sorry, sir. We are reporters from XX Weekly. We shot the wrong person. Zhu Zi quickly explained. Oh. Shot the wrong person. Then who do you want to shoot? Yang Ming's heart moved, and he asked. I. Zhu Zi's eyes turned, and he couldn't help but be vigilant. This person didn't reprimand him for ruining his date with the couple. Instead, he asked who they wanted to shoot. This doesn't seem to be very reasonable, right? Speak. Yang Ming tightened the clothes behind the two of them, and suddenly the two of them couldn't breathe. Lao Hei was more cowardly. He couldn't be scared. After being strangled by Yang Ming, he spilled the truth. We saw that your girlfriend's clothes were very similar to the big star Shuya's. We thought it was her, then you came over to take photos of us. Yang Ming's face turned black after listening. Aren't you being mean? Even if it is Shuya, she doesn't have privacy. Yang Ming let go of Lao Hei and slapped him. Lao Hei was shocked and immediately closed his eyes in fear. Pa! There was a loud sound. This slap was on Zhu Zi's face. Look at your shifty look. Is this your idea? Yang Ming said as he stared at Zhu Zi. You, what are you doing? Zhu Zi was slapped until half of his face immediately swelled. He exclaimed, Don't mess around. We didn't mean it. We have already apologized to you. Don't push it too far. I tell you, we are not to be trifled with. Our boss is Brother G. I don't care what Brother G or Brother Duck you are. I am Brother Goose. I tell you, don't let me see you again. Otherwise, it won't be so simple next time. Yang Ming snorted and grabbed the camera in Zhu Zi's hand. Then, he took out the memory card and put it in his pocket. This memory card can't be given to you. Until Yang Ming took away the memory card and returned the empty camera to Lao Hei. Lao Hei suddenly reacted. Are you stupid? Yang Ming looked at Lao Hei like he was looking at an idiot. You took photos of me and my wife. It's good that I didn't see you for invasion of privacy. Why don't you give me the memory card? No. I can delete the content in front of you. Lao Hei said quickly. Do you think I am stupid? Yang Ming looked at Lao Hei contemptuously. The deleted content can be restored. Do you think I am brother Shi? Lao Hei pouted and wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Yang Ming impatiently. Okay, get out before I get angry. Don't hang around in front of me. Lao Hei looked at Zhu Zi with a bitter face and looked at Yang Ming, who was strong. He knew that the two of them together were not his opponent. He had to sigh and leave helplessly. Isn't it just a memory card? Yang Ming looked at the memory card strangely and put it back in his pocket. He was puzzled and said to himself, a 2G SD card is only a few dozen yuan, right? Is it necessary to be so stingy? However, Yang Ming didn't care. It's not as simple as what you told me before, right? Suya asked. Are you talking about the incident with Dorsk? Yang Ming immediately noticed what Suya wanted to say, but it was no wonder. Who asked him to mention the topic of killing people? Suya nodded. You didn't know who I was before, so you didn't say much. Now you won't hide anything from me, right? That's natural. Yang Ming smiled and nodded. I had doubts about your identity before. How could I tell you so much? Of course, it's different now, but it can't be explained clearly in a few words. When I have time in the future, I will slowly tell you about my experience over the years. But one thing won't change. I'm still the previous Yang Ming. At this moment, the sky had begun to brighten slightly. Suya knew that this was indeed not the time to talk. There was still an intense rehearsal to do in a while. She should go back to the hotel. She had been out for too long. The two were like a young couple who had just fallen in love. They were reluctant to part with each other, but there would be a time when they had to part. I am leaving. Suya hesitated for a moment, but she still said goodbye. Yang Ming nodded because he had already seen it. Not far away, Su Li's car had already stopped there. She must have come to pick up Suya. Chapter 836. Watching Suya disappear from his sight, Yang Ming turned and left the entertainment hall. Recalling this magical night, it was like a dream. The knot in his heart had been untied just like that. Just like the saying goes, all of this happened too suddenly. Moreover, what surprised Yang Ming the most was that Suya and Chen Mengyan had already contacted each other privately and established some kind of tacit understanding. This made Yang Ming surprised, but at the same time, he was somewhat puzzled. Logically, with Chen Mengyan's temperament, how could she accept Suya so easily? How could Yang Ming think that Chen Mengyan actually did this to keep her promise? Chen Mengyan also understood Suya's position in Yang Ming's heart. Indeed, she could mess with Yang Ming about Lan Ling, Lin Jiyun, and even Zhou Jiejia. Only this Suya, she couldn't mess with him. When he returned to the hotel and opened the door, Yang Ming hesitated. He glanced at Zhang Bin's room with his special ability. Fortunately, Zhang Bin and Wang Mei didn't leave. They were hugging each other and sleeping soundly. Yang Ming wasn't the kind of person who liked to peep into other people's privacy, but at this moment, he had to be cautious. If Zhang Bin wasn't in the room, he would be busy again. Just now, when he was with Suya, he didn't feel sleepy. He was full of energy. Now that he returned to the hotel, he was sleepy. Yang Ming fell on the bed and quickly fell asleep. However, it didn't take long for Yang Ming to wake up with a burst of alarm from the phone. He took a look at the phone. It turned out that there was a notification from the memo schedule. Yang Ming suddenly remembered that today was the day when the new issue of Australian Street Shopping magazine was released. In other words, today, the assassin who took the mission would find the place to assassinate Jing Xiaoping in the magazine. Thinking of this, Yang Ming didn't dare to delay. This was the first mission that Fong Tian gave him alone. Yang Ming didn't dare to be careless. Although it was just to let him figure out the ins and outs of the matter, Yang Ming also had to take it seriously. After simply washing his face, Yang Ming went out and went to the coffee shop near the hotel. Yang Ming saw the waiter from the last time. The waiter naturally had an impression of Yang Ming. He gave him so much tip last time that it was impossible for him to forget. He smiled and greeted him. "Sir, you are here again. Welcome." Yang Ming nodded. "Show it to me and give me a cup of coffee by the way." "Okay, sir, please wait a moment," the waiter said with a smile, but he wondered in his heart. The world is really full of strange things. Someone is actually interested in this kind of magazine full of advertisements. The waiter handed the coffee and the latest issue of the magazine to Yang Ming. Yang Ming paid him 100 patakas and said, "Keep the change." The waiter took the banknotes happily, thanked him, and turned away. Yang Ming didn't dare to delay. He opened the magazine and turned to the page number of the advertisements in the middle of each issue. Sure enough, it was still in that position. There was a code. Yang Ming couldn't immediately read the meaning of this code. After all, Yang Ming was still in contact with the assassin industry for a short time. Although he had mastered a lot of things, these codes were really not all of them. He could only check with the dictionary. Yang Ming took out his mobile phone and took a picture of the code. Then, he quickly got up and left the coffee shop. Only the waiter was left. He shook his head inexplicably. This customer is really strange. He is generous, but why is he interested in that broken magazine? The waiter tidied up Yang Ming's table and casually flipped through the magazine that Yang Ming had just read. He didn't feel that there was anything particularly interesting in it, so he casually threw it into the newspaper column in front of the bar. After Yang Ming returned to the hotel, he pulled up the dictionary file on the computer, and then compared it with the code on the mobile phone to get the complete information. At 8:00 tonight, Jing Xiaoping, the director of Huawei Casino, will participate in a small exchange meeting organized by the Folk Gambling Association. After the meeting, he will participate in a banquet and dance. Of course, the specific banquet and dance time were not mentioned. It was probably not fixed. The possibility of temporary arrangements was higher. The timing of the action was controlled by the person who took over the task. At 8:00 in the evening, Yang Ming still had a long time to prepare. Seeing this information, Yang Ming also breathed a sigh of relief. At least this assassination seemed to have little to do with Huang Lele on the surface, because the assassination location was not in Huawei Casino, but Jing Xiaoping was killed when he participated in the event. But it was not done against Huang Lele's casino. Yang Ming had no time to investigate, and there was no clue to investigate, but these were not important. As long as Huang Lele was not hurt, it was fine. As for that Jing Xiaoping, Yang Ming was not an international humanitarian. He did not care about the life and death of this stranger. There was a knock on the door outside the room. Yang Ming quickly turned off the dictionary file on the computer and turned the mobile phone screen back to standby before he got up and opened the door. Zhang Bin and Wang Mei had already woken up and just had breakfast. Wang Mei thought of a very important thing. That was, her parents were still in Macau. Her mood was very unstable yesterday, and she did not think too much about it. She only thought about it today. If she and Zhang Bin returned to Songjiang, what would happen to her parents? The most important thing was that Yang Ming played with Lu Jihao yesterday. If he couldn't find her, what would she do if he retaliated against her parents? Although Wang Mei had never mentioned her family to Lu Jihao, this was not something that could be hidden. As long as Lu Jihao went to the airline to check the file, he could easily know the address of her parents. Bro, I want to accompany Mimi home and bring her parents to the hotel. Wang Mei didn't dare to speak, so Zhang Bin said Wang Mei's idea. Yang Ming couldn't help but frown after listening. At this time, it was taboo to go out and hang out. If that Lu Jihao was not a fool, he should have noticed it. The check couldn't disappear for no reason. He didn't lose it himself, so there were only a few possibilities left. Therefore, once Zhang Bin and the others encountered any trouble, it was really difficult for him to handle. Because Yang Ming had more important things to do today, he couldn't be distracted. Is it okay to go tomorrow? I will accompany you. I have other important things to do today. Yang Ming glanced at Zhang Bin and said. But, bro, I'm afraid that tomorrow, Lu Jihao will. Zhang Bin said with some difficulty. Yang Ming hesitated. He knew that Zhang Bin was telling the truth. If Lu Jihao really made an issue out of Wang Mei's parents, then things would be troublesome. After pondering for a long time, he said, well, you go and come back quickly. Remember, don't take anything from home. It's fine as long as you come over. You won't lack anything in Songjiang. Yang Ming could only hope that Lu Jihao didn't think of this. Yang Ming wasn't distressed about the 10 million yuan, but Lu Jihao was really unlikable. I know. Wang Mei nodded quickly. She also understood the current situation. She didn't want to add unnecessary trouble to Yang Ming. Moreover, Yang Ming was right. She didn't need to care about the things at home. She would have everything when she returned to Songjiang. If you encounter trouble, call me quickly. Yang Ming instructed. After Zhang Bin and Wang Mei left, Yang Ming began to prepare for the evening. Yang Ming's previous plan was to carefully put on makeup. Yang Ming didn't want to reveal his true identity. After all, today's matter had nothing to do with him. There was no need to involve himself. But now, this plan was completely unnecessary. Yang Ming could now change his appearance without the help of any accessories. To be honest, Yang Ming had never thought that his glasses had such a function before this. Even though he learned from Su Haikua that Suya's disguise was entirely due to such a pair of glasses, Yang Ming thought at the time that every pair of glasses had a unique function. Until Suya said that she got the glasses, the old man told her that this was an undeveloped pair of glasses, and Yang Ming's pair might be a fully functional version. If he followed this train of thought, then this pair of glasses couldn't only have these functions that he saw now. There must be other functions that had not been discovered, but Yang Ming had no way to discover them one by one. Yang Ming pulled the curtains and then began to change his appearance in the mirror. After changing a few appearances, Yang Ming wasn't very satisfied. It was either too handsome or too ugly. Of course, Yang Ming didn't care about whether his appearance was ugly or not. These didn't matter. Anyway, it wasn't his true appearance. What he cared about was that as an assassin, his face shouldn't be too distinctive. It should be the kind of common face that made people feel very ordinary after seeing it and forget it in a blink of an eye. In the end, Yang Ming merged the images of many people in his memory and made a very ordinary face. It wasn't handsome or ugly. It couldn't be more ordinary. Yang Ming nodded with satisfaction. He took out a pair of sunglasses from the suitcase and put it on his face. He covered his eyes with his hands. A person's appearance changed, but it was difficult to change the eyes. So, to be on the safe side, Yang Ming still wore sunglasses. Before going out, Yang Ming first scanned the corridor with his special ability and found that there were no guests and waiters passing by. Then, he quickly flashed out of the door of the room. Downstairs and out of the hotel, no one doubted the identity of Yang Ming. There were many strangers coming and going in the hotel every day. Especially with Yang Ming's current common face, there were even more. Chapter 837. Yang Ming bought a newspaper on the side of the road and held it in his hand to make himself look more like a local. A white-collar worker working in a company. Yang Ming followed the address provided in the Australian Street Shopping magazine and came to the vicinity of the gambling seminar venue. This was a small private club. Yang Ming wanted to go in, but he was stopped by the security guard at the door. "Hello, sir, please show me your invitation." Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect to need an invitation to enter here. It seemed that entering here required strict checks. Yang Ming smiled embarrassedly. "I don't have an invitation. I thought this place was open to the public." "I'm sorry, sir. You can't enter without an invitation." The security guard politely reached out and stopped in front of Yang Ming. "So, forget it. It's nothing." Yang Ming pretended to be indifferent, shook his head, and turned to leave the club. The security guard didn't care. There were a few people like Yang Ming every day, so he was already used to it. However, Yang Ming did not leave immediately. Instead, he turned around and walked far away. He turned back, but this time he did not go to the main entrance of the club. Instead, he walked around the club. There was a tall fence around the club. It could be seen that at the top of the fence, there was a surveillance camera running. Although Yang Ming could climb over it, he would definitely be recorded by the camera. In other words, the security here was very tight. If you wanted to enter here, you could only break in if you had an invitation. It was obviously unwise to carry out an assassination here. First, it was a big difficulty to enter here. Unless you had an invitation, you could enter openly. If you broke in, it would not be such a scene now. Those security guards would definitely have acted. Second, even if you entered here and the assassination was successful, it was quite difficult to get away. But if the first possibility was established, it was not impossible to do so. However, the key problem was that Yang Ming didn't think that the assassin here would get an invitation. The reason was very simple. He was the same as Yang Ming. He only knew the location of the assassination target after reading the magazine today. It was impossible to prepare an invitation here in advance. Now, it was too late to find a way to forge an invitation. Therefore, that person was likely to be rejected and left like Yang Ming, or he hadn't come yet. Thinking of this, Yang Ming decided to wait at the door of the club for a while. If he could meet the assassin, it would be great. But to be on the safe side, Yang Ming still used his special ability to look around the clubhouse in the courtyard. Except for the security personnel, everyone else gathered in a conference room. It seemed that they all knew each other and were discussing something enthusiastically. It could be concluded that the assassin was not among them. Yang Ming was slightly relieved. However, Yang Ming waited here for nearly 20 minutes, and no one else approached the club. Yang Ming couldn't help but be a little disappointed, but it was reasonable to say that the assassin should not have come yet. When Yang Ming came, the seminar had just begun, unless the assassin came earlier. As he was thinking about it, Yang Ming suddenly found a young man wearing a cap walking to the door of the club. Yang Ming was shocked and immediately vigilant. "Brother Wang, are you on duty today?" The cap man said to the security guard on duty. Although Yang Ming couldn't hear it, he could tell what they were saying by looking at the shape of their lips. "Yeah, Boss Zhu, 20 chicken chops for takeout today," said the security guard called Brother Wang. "Okay, no problem." "Is it delivered at the same time?" asked the man in the cap called Boss Zhu. It's the same time every day." Brother Wang nodded. "Give the brothers more food. Don't worry. You are all old customers. I will definitely let you eat until you are full. Boss Shu nodded with a smile and promised. After that, he turned and left. Yang Ming sighed and shook his head helplessly. It seems that this is just a delivery man. It can't be an assassin. However, Yang Ming still had patience. Otherwise, there was no other place to go at this time. He sat on a bench on the side of the road, holding the newspaper he just bought in his hand. It seemed that he was reading the newspaper seriously. In fact, Yang Ming's eyes had already passed through the newspaper and stared at the door of the club. About 10 minutes later, a fashionably dressed and sunny girl with a small bag on her back walked towards the entrance of the clubhouse. Looking at her clothes, she should be a student. She wasn't tall, but she was well proportioned. A pair of sunglasses was pinned on her hair, which made her look more charming and lovely. According to common sense, this person should have no connection with an assassin. Such a pure and lovely girl really couldn't be an assassin, but Yang Ming didn't relax because of this. Assassin? Must look alike to be an assassin? Yang Ming shook his head. My usual appearance is very sunny. My identity is also a college student of Songjiang Industry University. Isn't my secret identity equally shocking? Therefore, from the moment this girl approached the club, Yang Ming's eyes never left her. The girl was very beautiful. How should I say it? She had an indescribable temperament. She was lazy, but she was very cute. This feeling gave Yang Ming an illusion of déjà vu. There seemed to be such a person beside him, but Yang Ming couldn't think of anyone who was more similar to her. When Yang Ming narrowed his eyes like a telescope, Yang Ming felt a hint of abnormality. The girl's appearance looked very natural and sweet, but it was carefully decorated. Although the current non-mainstream people like to paint themselves beyond recognition, it was also because their foundation wasn't good enough. This girl, whether it was the shape of her face or the position of her facial features, was perfect. There was no need to put so much makeup on herself. This made Yang Ming subconsciously look with his X-ray vision. When he saw the girl's true appearance, he couldn't help but be shocked. He almost dropped the newspaper in his hand. This was because the shock that this incident brought to him was too great. Yang Ming couldn't imagine that this girl was actually that person. The person I know. Yes, this person is my neighbor, the delinquent girl, Wang Xiaoyan. This brought Yang Ming more than a little shock. What is Wang Xiaoyan doing here? Yang Ming's eyebrows frowned together. Things were getting more and more complicated. Yang Ming didn't believe that Wang Xiaoyan was the murderer, but if not, why did Wang Xiaoyan come here after dressing herself up? Yang Ming didn't believe that there were such coincidences in the world, but coincidences still existed. Yang Ming adjusted his emotions and decided to wait and see how the situation would develop. Wang Xiaoyan walked lightly to the front of the clubhouse. She looked inside the clubhouse curiously, but she didn't take the initiative to talk to the security guard. When the security guard Brother Wang saw a cute little girl come here, although it was a little strange, he still asked, "Little girl, what are you doing here? What is this place? Can I go in?" As Wang Xiaoyan spoke, she took out her mobile phone and shook it. "I'm a tourist here. I see that this place is very beautiful, so I want to take a few photos. Little girl, this is a private clubhouse. People who don't have an invitation can't just enter." The security guard Brother Wang shook his head embarrassedly. "If you want to take photos, you can stand outside and take photos. If that's the case." Wang Xiaoyan's face showed a disappointed look. "Then I'll just take a picture around." After that, Wang Xiaoyan turned around and walked around the clubhouse. The security guard Brother Wang didn't care and let her go. Because Wang Xiaoyan's appearance was too harmless, Brother Wang didn't have any vigilance. Just from a few words of dialogue between Wang Xiaoyan and the security guard, Yang Ming couldn't determine whether Wang Xiaoyan was the assassin or a group of people with the assassin. He could only continue to observe her. However, the next behavior of Wang Xiaoyan made Yang Ming suspicious. The reason was very simple. When Wang Xiaoyan walked around the clubhouse, she didn't take photos with her mobile phone, but looked at the fence and the monitor above. When she saw that the security here was so tight, she seemed to shake her head slightly and sighed. This made Yang Ming even more suspicious. Wang Xiaoyan didn't come here to take photos, but she had other intentions. Her approach was almost the same as his. First, she found an excuse to talk to the security guard, then she observed the security situation and terrain of the clubhouse. This made Yang Ming suspicious. However, Wang Xiaoyan is the assassin who took the mission. Isn't this a bit too ridiculous? Yang Ming couldn't associate her with the assassin. However, there was a good saying. You can't judge a book by its cover. Do I look like an assassin? Even if Wang Xiaoyan isn't an assassin, then she should have some connection with the assassin. Yang Ming then turned his gaze to Wang Xiaoyan's bag. In the next moment, Yang Ming no longer had any doubts. A small silenced pistol, a small dagger for assassination, binoculars, a flashlight. All of these were familiar to Yang Ming. This is an assassin suit. There was only one sentence to describe Yang Ming's current mood. That was, this world is really crazy, oh. What is this? In Wang Xiaoyan's backpack, there was also a pack of feminine hygiene pads. Yang Ming sweated. After Wang Xiaoyan observed the terrain, she probably felt that it was basically impossible to start here. She turned and left the clubhouse. She looked around and found the bench where Yang Ming was. This was the nearest bench near the clubhouse. Although there was already someone on it, Wang Xiaoyan hesitated and walked over here. Chapter 838. Yang Ming's heart suddenly tightened slightly. Could it be that she saw some clues? However, he was relieved immediately. First of all, it was impossible for her to recognize him now. Even if she had doubts, she would not come over to alert the enemy. The only possibility was that Wang Xiaoyan had the same idea as him. That was to find the nearest bench to sit down first, and then observe the movement of the clubhouse. After the seminar was over, she would find a suitable time to make a move. Sure enough, Wang Xiaoyan just glanced at Yang Ming faintly, and there was no doubtful expression. Yang Ming was still reading his newspaper, but his attention was not on the newspaper. Wang Xiaoyan took out a napkin, wiped the chair, and sat next to Yang Ming. She put the MP3 headphones on her ears. It looked like a tired tourist taking a break midway. Wang Xiaoyan certainly couldn't have the ability to see far like Yang Ming. She couldn't take out the binoculars in the daytime, but she couldn't stare in the direction of the clubhouse. However, she had her own way. She pulled down the sunglasses on her head so that others couldn't see the direction of her gaze. She could observe what she wanted to observe without any scruples. Of course, these couldn't be hidden from Yang Ming, because Yang Ming and she were the same kind of people who were doing the same things. The difference was that Yang Ming's attention had now shifted from the clubhouse to Wang Xiaoyan. The appearance of Wang Xiaoyan made Yang Ming feel that things were more confusing. Which side does Wang Xiaoyan represent? What kind of person is she? She and Xiaoying have lived together for so long. Didn't Xiaoying notice anything? Yang Ming was more willing to believe that he didn't know the person in front of him, but the truth was the opposite. Could it be? Wang Xiaoyan belongs to an assassin organization? Now that he thought about it, there was indeed this possibility. Although he didn't have much contact with Wang Xiaoyan, it was certain that Wang Xiaoyan had kung fu. Moreover, she was agile. This could be seen from the time Wang Xiaoyan attacked him and the time they climbed the rock. Moreover, he had never heard about Wang Xiaoyan's family from Zhao Ying. Wang Xiaoyan was alone, but she could afford a villa. This made the Yangming Association realize that her money was earned as an assassin. However, is there an assassin organization in Songjiang? Wait. Yang Ming's heart suddenly trembled. Songjiang really has an assassin organization. I remember that the assassin, Wu Ming, that I caught once said that there seemed to be an assassin organization called Black Widow in Songjiang. Could it be that Wang Xiaoyan also belongs to it? However, Yang Ming was calm on the surface. He still, seriously, read the newspaper in his hand. Wang Xiaoyan's expression was also normal. She listened to the MP3 quietly. She even hummed a few words from time to time. She had the image of a young girl. The seminar was still going on slowly. About an hour had passed, and there was still no sign of it ending. Yang Ming had almost finished reading the content of the newspaper. Even if a person read the newspaper carefully, an hour was almost enough. Sometimes things go in the opposite direction. When Wang Xiaoyan came over, Yang Ming was already reading the newspaper. Now more than an hour had passed. If Yang Ming read it again, it would be a bit fake. Yang Ming put down the newspaper and took a deep breath. Then he turned his head to Wang Xiaoyan and asked with a smile, "Are you a tourist here?" He and Wang Xiaoyan had been sitting in this chair together for almost an hour. Yang Ming felt that according to common sense, he should say hello. Wang Xiaoyan took off her headphones and turned to look at Yang Ming. "Sorry, what did you say?" "I said, are you a tourist here?" Yang Ming repeated what he had just said with some helplessness. "Yeah, how did you know?" Wang Xiaoyan did not hide it. In her opinion, Yang Ming was not a threat to her. He was just a passerby. Hee, I guessed because I'm not a local. Yang Ming shrugged and smiled. "Are you also a tourist?" Wang Xiaoyan was also very bored. Now that there was someone to talk to, she naturally would not refuse. "I'm not. I'm working here." Yang Ming's current outfit did not look like a tourist at all. If he insisted that he was a tourist, it would be suspicious. "However, I'm from the mainland." "That's the case." Wang Xiaoyan nodded. "I'm also from the mainland. I came here during the winter vacation." "Are you alone?" Yang Ming seemed to be chatting, but in fact, he was trying to figure out the details of Wang Xiaoyan. However, Wang Xiaoyan had no defense against Yang Ming at all. She nodded and said, "Yeah, I'm alone. I like the feeling of traveling alone." Hee, it's good to be alone. However, since you are a student, won't your family be worried if you go out alone? Yang Ming asked with a smile. Wang Xiaoyan's eyes flashed a trace of imperceptible sadness. "Yeah, being born in this kind of family, there are many things that are beyond my control. When I graduate from university, I will have to marry someone I don't like, and then I will probably have to live a very restrained life. My family is not around. They are very busy. They can't take care of me." Wang Xiaoyan's expression returned to normal in an instant, and she said faintly, "It turned out to be like this." Yang Ming certainly did not expect Wang Xiaoyan to tell the truth to him, and Wang Xiaoyan would not tell the truth to a stranger like him. Anyway, the current matter was both true and false. What Yang Ming wanted was the information that Wang Xiaoyan inadvertently revealed. "These few days, I just happened to be on vacation. How about I be a tour guide for you?" Yang Ming casually probed. He now wanted to figure out which side Wang Xiaoyan was on. Naturally, he had to find a way to get close to her first and gain her trust. Wang Xiaoyan was stunned. She didn't expect Yang Ming to make such a request. She came to perform a mission this time, not to travel at all. How could she ask Yang Ming to be her tour guide? Why? Don't you believe me? Hee, although I'm not a local, I've been living here for a while. At least, I won't get lost. Yang Ming was purely talking nonsense. If he didn't take a taxi when he went out now, he wouldn't be able to find anywhere. No, forget it. I don't want to trouble you, and I also like the feeling of being alone. Wang Xiaoyan hesitated and rejected Yang Ming's kindness. Hee, it's okay. It is fate that we meet. My name is Lu Lei. What about you? Yang Ming smiled casually and did not continue to ask. If he did, it would arouse Wang Xiaoyan's vigilance and make her doubt his purpose. However, Yang Ming still used a pseudonym. He read a novel where there was a ruthless person named Lu Lei, so he used it on himself. Wang Yan. Wang Xiaoyan said faintly. Wang Yan. Yang Ming laughed in his heart. Obviously, she was Wang Xiaoyan, but she changed her name to Wang Yan. However, Yang Ming did not expose it. He nodded and said, "It's a very nice name." Right, why have you been sitting here? It has been more than an hour, right? Wang Xiaoyan felt a chill in her heart. Lu Lei was sitting there reading the newspaper, but she was aimless. It was not reasonable to say that she was sitting here listening to the MP3 and enjoying the scenery. The scenery here was not beautiful, and there were no scenic spots nearby. It was difficult not to arouse the curiosity of others. If she said that she was tired and came to rest, resting for more than an hour seemed to be a bit too long. Wang Xiaoyan's brain was thinking quickly. She regretted talking so much with Yang Ming. If she knew, she would have pretended to be cold, pretended. Got it. Wang Xiaoyan stretched lazily, and then said with a slightly red face, "It just so happens that I'm not feeling very well today. I walked a lot, so I took a break." There were many reasons why a person was not feeling well, but when it was said by a girl, and she specifically emphasized today, and coincidentally, then there was only one situation, which was her period. When Yang Ming heard Wang Xiaoyan's words, he could not help but be stunned. He did not expect Wang Xiaoyan to give such an excuse. Yang Ming subconsciously looked between Wang Xiaoyan's legs, and unconsciously used his special ability. In the light pink underwear, a cluster of black forest was reflected in Yang Ming's eyes, and it made Yang Ming's heart suddenly move. Liar. Where did that come from? It was clean inside, and there was nothing padding. Yang Ming did not know why he peeked under Wang Xiaoyan's body. One of the reasons was to confirm the truth of her words, and the other was that there should be some impure motives. Wang Xiaoyan's figure was very good. Although she was petite, she was very pleasing to the eye. Yang Ming was lost for a moment, and quickly returned to normal. So that's the case. Because of Wang Xiaoyan's words, the two became awkward. Yang Ming could not expose her, right? If Wang Xiaoyan asked him, "How did you know?" Yang Ming did not know how to answer. Now, Wang Xiaoyan had a good reason to sit here, but Yang Ming, after reading the newspaper, it was a bit strange to sit here. However, Yang Ming did not care about this. He took out his phone and pretended to dial a number. Hello. Guiqing. I am Lu Lei, when are you coming? I have been waiting for you for almost half an hour. And, Zhao Yanyan and the others have already gone over, and you are the only one left. Okay, I am still waiting for you here, just hurry up. What? Who are you talking about? Ding Bao-san. I don't know, who knows who he is? Okay, I won't say it. Yang Ming said a lot of nonsense, and also found a reasonable reason for himself to continue to stay, making Wang Xiaoyan mistakenly think that Yang Ming was waiting for someone. Chapter 839. After hanging up the phone, Yang Ming continued to sit on the bench with peace of mind, but Wang Xiaoyan was a little impatient. If Yang Ming was here all the time, then it would be difficult for her to take the opportunity to make a move when the clubhouse was over. However, there was only one bench nearby for people to rest. There was no other place to rest. Wang Xiaoyan couldn't drive Yang Ming away, right? In desperation, she could only take one step at a time. Fortunately, it didn't take long for the security guard who was standing at the entrance of the clubhouse to suddenly become busy. Then, a group of people came out of the clubhouse and walked to the parking lot next to the clubhouse. These people were basically the directors of major casinos. They all came with their cars, so even if they were going to have a meal in a while, they would drive their own cars and then gather at the dining venue. Wang Xiaoyan looked at Yang Ming next to her with the corner of her eyes. At this time, she had to move. If the restaurant was like this clubhouse where there were security guards and outsiders were not allowed to enter, then there would be no chance to make a move. Wang Xiaoyan had moved. Yang Ming had no reason to stay, but he couldn't move with her. He could only follow her and observe the changes. Yang Ming didn't want to stop Wang Xiaoyan. For him, Jing Xiaoping's life and death had nothing to do with him. Whether Jing Xiaoping was good or evil, and why there was a bounty on him for assassination, it didn't matter. The purpose of Yang Ming's trip was to figure out which group Wang Xiaoyan represented. If she really had a relationship with the Black Widow organization, then Yang Ming had to investigate carefully. The reason was very simple. The Black Widow had sent people to assassinate him and Bao Sonli. He didn't remember having a feud with the Black Widow. If he could start with Wang Xiaoyan, he believed that it would not be a big problem to solve this puzzle. However, just as Yang Ming was thinking about how to follow Wang Xiaoyan, his mobile phone suddenly rang. Yang Ming took out his mobile phone and glanced at the caller ID. It was Zhang Bin. Suddenly, his heart tightened, and a bad premonition arose spontaneously. "Hello. What's the matter?" Yang Ming answered the phone. "Boss, something's wrong," Zhang Bin said anxiously. "Something happened." "What happened?" Yang Ming asked. Wang Mei's parents were captured by the people sent by Lu Jihao. Zhang Bin said, when we arrived at Wang Mei's house, her parents were no longer there. They only left a note on the table, asking boss to pick her up. "You want me to go and get him?" Yang Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed a bit illogical to think about it. The kidnappers were Wang Mei's parents. He didn't ask Wang Mei or Zhang Bin to go, but he asked an outsider like me to go. Even if he guessed that the check was taken by me, then the person he was looking for should be Zhang Bin, right? He got the check from me through Zhang Bin. Why would he look for me directly? This made Yang Ming very puzzled, but it also made Yang Ming feel a little relieved. After all, this was a very special period. He still had important things to do, so it was impossible to spare time. If Zhang Bin and Lu Jihao's people were in conflict at the moment, then Yang Ming really didn't know what to do. But now, Lu Jihao had already captured Wang Mei's parents and asked him to pick them up. In any case, it avoided a direct conflict and gave Yang Ming some time. Since he asked Lu Jihao to pick them up, Lu Jihao must have a purpose, and his purpose was nothing more than money. He wanted to get the check. In this case, Lu Jihao would not embarrass Wang Mei's parents. Thinking of this, Yang Ming comforted, Lu Jihao must have figured out the check, but you don't have to worry. In order to get the money smoothly, he will not embarrass Wang Mei's parents. People who seek money will not create problems. You go back to the hotel first. Let's discuss countermeasures at night. Zhang Bin was originally overwhelmed by anxiety. At this moment, after listening to Yang Ming's analysis, he suddenly calmed down. Yang Ming was right. Lu Jihao should only be seeking money. If he simply wanted revenge, he would not leave this so-called note. I got it, bro. I will go back to the hotel with Wang Mei. Zhang Bin quickly promised. Hanging up the phone, Zhang Bin told Wang Mei about Yang Ming's intention, and Wang Mei was slightly relieved. The two of them couldn't help here. They would go back to the hotel and wait for Yang Ming to come back before making a decision. While Yang Ming was answering the phone, Wang Xiaoyan had already stopped a taxi on the roadside and followed behind the motorcade in front. She would not pay attention to the content of Yang Ming's phone call. It was better to leave when Yang Ming was answering the phone. This also avoided the embarrassment of Yang Ming asking where she was going. Yang Ming saw that the car in front had gone far away. He quickly got into another taxi that was waiting at the roadside stop and asked him to follow the taxi that Wang Xiaoyan was in. Mister, can you please follow the taxi in front? After Yang Ming got in the car, he told the driver, don't follow too close, so that she won't notice. The taxi driver listened to Yang Ming's words, but he was vigilant. He hesitated and said, I'm afraid this is against the rules, right? Why are you following the car in front? Yang Ming didn't expect the taxi driver to be so upright. He would ask this question, but Yang Ming's reaction ability was super strong. His ability to talk nonsense was also far ahead. When he was in high school, he tricked Shin Mengyan all day long. Big brother, in fact, I don't want to hide it from you. In the car in front is my girlfriend. We came from the mainland to travel. We just quarreled because of differences in opinion. She didn't ask me to follow her. But this is an unfamiliar place. I was really afraid that she would get lost, so I wanted to follow far behind and not let her notice. Yang Ming said with a bitter face. So that's the case. The driver saw that Yang Ming was sincere and believed a little. But the most important thing was that when the driver was waiting for the customer, he did see a girl get into the taxi in front, and this girl was also sitting with Yang Ming before. As for whether the two people were boyfriend and girlfriend, and whether they quarreled, he didn't care. But according to what he saw and listened to Yang Ming's explanation at the moment, it was probably not far from the truth. So he said, well, young man, you can rest assured. My skills are not bragging. I promise to let you catch up with your girlfriend. Thank you, big brother. Yang Ming took out a 100 yuan note from his pocket and put it on the dashboard of the car. This is a small thing. Seeing that Yang Ming took out yuan instead of patakas, the driver believed a little more. Yang Ming was a tourist from the mainland, so it was impossible for him to be a person with ulterior motives. In the motorcade in front, in a black Buick Boulevard sedan, Zheng Xiaoping was talking to a person on the phone. Boss, the seminar is over. I'm on my way to the restaurant. Zheng Xiaoping reported. Very good. Is that chick following you? A male voice asked from the other side of the phone. She is following. I saw a taxi following behind the motorcade. It should be her, said Zheng Xiaoping. Very good, act according to the plan. I'll leave this matter to you. Don't let me down, said the male voice. Don't worry, boss. Zheng Xiaoping nodded solemnly. Hanging up the phone, Zheng Xiaoping took a long breath. To be honest, he was not very scared now. It could be said that he was very scared. The person he was facing was a professional killer. Although the boss had sent reliable people around him and said that they would deal with the killer, it was better to be safe than sorry. This was a matter of life and death. If he was not careful, he would be dead. But even so, Zheng Xiaoping did not hesitate to agree to the matter. Because this was what the boss asked him to do, he had to do it. Without the boss, there would be no Zheng Xiaoping, and there would be no achievements today. Of course, this boss was not the boss of Huawei Casino. Zheng Xiaoping's relationship in Huawei Casino was only an employment relationship. The boss of Huawei Casino had no right to dispatch him. 8 years ago, Zheng Xiaoping was nothing. He was just a gambler. In a gambling game, he cheated and was caught red-handed. Someone wanted to beat him to death. Just as Zheng Xiaoping was in despair, that person appeared and helped Zheng Xiaoping out of his predicament. Chapter 840. Yang Ming's reason sounded funny and ridiculous, but it was the easiest to accept. It was normal for couples to quarrel. Everything became reasonable. Young man, don't be too calculative when you are outside. Women. It's not a big deal. The taxi driver said to Yang Ming as he drove. It's not a big deal. I know. After she calms down, I will talk to her. Yang Ming nodded. Now she is angry. She probably won't listen to anything I say. That's true. The taxi driver also thought so after listening. I can only help you follow her. You have to rely on yourself for other things. Wang Xiaoyan's attention was all on the motorcade in front of her. She didn't notice that there was a car following her. As for Wang Xiaoyan's reason for following her, it was even funnier. She told the taxi driver that her boyfriend was in the motorcade in front. She was afraid that her boyfriend would go to some bad place with others, so she wanted to secretly follow them to see what was going on. It was similar to Yang Ming's reason. It was ridiculous, but the taxi driver didn't doubt it. Little sister, I'm not talking about you, but you can't do this. The taxi driver said to Wang Xiaoyan helplessly, you are too strict with your boyfriend. It's not a good thing. Why? Wang Xiaoyan didn't have a boyfriend at all, but in order to act, she cooperated with the taxi driver. Looking at the motorcade of your boyfriend and his friends, they should be successful people, right? The taxi driver said, men, especially successful men, always have to socialize outside. It's inevitable to put on a show. Sometimes, we can just turn a blind eye to it. Wang Xiaoyan listened to the taxi driver's words, but she sighed faintly. She thought of her own life experience and her future. What kind of person will my future husband be? It's good to put on a show outside. As long as his heart is with me, it's enough. But, is this possible? Let me marry a man who has no emotional foundation with me. I don't like him, and he won't like me. Don't mention his heart. I probably can't see him more than a few times. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoyan couldn't help but be silent. The taxi driver thought that Wang Xiaoyan was thinking about what he said. He smiled slightly and didn't say anything. This kind of thing needed the person involved to think about it carefully. It was useless to say more. Sure enough, as Wang Xiaoyan expected, the motorcade drove into the gate of a villa. Obviously, this was a private place. The taxi driver. Wang Xiaoyan was thinking about how to do it. She was a little absent-minded. She gave the driver 100 patakas and got out of the car without waiting for the change. The taxi driver shook his head and drove away. The taxi that Yang Ming took also stopped a few hundred meters away from here. Young man, your girlfriend got off. I think you should stop here. I won't go forward. Okay. Yang Ming nodded and said, sorry to trouble you. Hee, what trouble? You are my customer. You should think about how to persuade your girlfriend. The taxi driver smiled. I know. Yang Ming got out of the car and waved to the taxi driver. After the taxi driver drove away, he was still thinking. What did that person look like? How did I forget in a blink of an eye? He carefully recalled Yang Ming's characteristics. That was, he had no characteristics. Yang Ming didn't have to go forward. He saw the motorcade enter the villa, and Wang Xiaoyan stood at the door. He understood that the situation here was similar to before. Strangers were not allowed to enter. It seemed that Wang Xiaoyan came for nothing again. Yang Ming couldn't help but find it funny. An assassin and a terrorist organization were two different things. If it was a terrorist organization, they wouldn't care whether the security was safe or not. They would directly take a submachine gun and force their way in. If it didn't work, they would use tanks and bombers. It was completely reckless. But an assassin was different. An assassin emphasized secrecy. While killing the target, they didn't reveal their identity. Otherwise, even if the mission was completed, they would be finished here. Although Xing Xiaoping's purpose was to lead Wang Xiaoyan to kill him, it couldn't be too fake. Only when she felt that it was difficult, it would be more realistic. Therefore, according to the behind-the-scenes boss arrangement, he had to whet Wang Xiaoyan's appetite. Looking at the countless delicacies on the banquet, Xing Xiaoping had no appetite. It was nonsense to say that he was not afraid. Who was not afraid of death? But fear was fear, and he did not retreat. Xing Xiaoping was not the kind of person who was ungrateful. The boss taught him proud skills, and he also changed from a little punk to a senior consultant. Only Xing Xiaoping knew the difference between them. Mr. Zheng, you can rest assured. We won't let anything happen to you. One of the two bodyguards seemed to see Xing Xiaoping's nervous mood and comforted him. It doesn't matter. Even if I die, I don't care. It's just that my mood is a little difficult to calm down. Xing Xiaoping smiled bitterly and shook his head. One of the bodyguards patted Xing Xiaoping's shoulder again and smiled. We are all people who work for the boss. However, if we have to die, it should be the two of us who die first. After listening to the words of one of the bodyguards, Xing Xiaoping's heart calmed down. He drank a mouthful of red wine, then clenched his teeth and nodded. It's almost time, right? One of the bodyguards looked at his watch and said, after 5 minutes, your phone will ring, and then we will act according to the plan. Xing Xiaoping nodded. He randomly picked up some dishes from the tray and started eating. 5 minutes later, Xing Xiaoping's phone rang as scheduled. Xing Xiaoping took a deep breath and took out his phone. Hello. Xing Xiaoping walked to a crowded place and said as he walked. Xiaoping, you can act now. On the other side of the phone, it was the boss's voice. Okay, I got it. Xing Xiaoping said firmly. After hanging up the phone, Xing Xiaoping went to the person in charge of this event to ask for leave. President Zhang, something happened at home. I have to go back now. You see, okay, if you have something, you can go first. Anyway, the seminar is over. Now it's just a meal. Everyone is just chatting together. It doesn't matter if you don't participate. President Zhang just saw Xing Xiaoping answer a phone call, so he did not doubt it. Besides, there was nothing to doubt. Although he was the president in name, he was also recommended by everyone who respected his qualifications. He only played the role of calling and organizing. He was not qualified to care about other people's private affairs. After Xing Xiaoping asked for leave, he hurriedly turned and left. Several friends who were familiar with him greeted him. Old Xing, are you leaving? And, something happened. I have to go first. Let's meet again next time. Xing Xiaoping smiled perfunctorily. Out of the villa, one of the bodyguards and two of the bodyguards went to the Buick Boulevard one after another. One of the bodyguards sat in the driver's seat and started the car. Two of the bodyguards and Xing Xiaoping sat in the back of the car. After starting the car, the Buick Boulevard slowly drove out of the villa's courtyard. Although the employer did not tell Wang Xiaoyan where Xing Xiaoping appeared tonight, he told her the name and identity of the assassin in advance. Wang Xiaoyan naturally had to conduct an investigation first. She had already gotten Jing Xiaoping's photos, and she also knew that he usually rode in a Buick Boulevard with the license plate number MXXXX. There were 2 bodyguards around him, but their skills were very ordinary. What she didn't know was that the bodyguards around Jing Xiaoping had been replaced by others. Looking at the photos in her hand and the Buick that slowly drove out of the villa's gate, Wang Xiaoyan's nerves immediately tensed up. Yes, it was this car. Wang Xiaoyan also saw the person sitting in the car clearly with the binoculars. In the car, 2 of the bodyguards also held 2 photos in their hands. One of them was of Wang Xiaoyan, and the other was of Yang Ming. For Yang Ming, the 2 bodyguards received the task temporarily. They were originally responsible for dealing with Wang Xiaoyan, and Yang Ming was added later. But it didn't matter. 1 sheep was still a sheep, and 2 sheep were still a sheep. They just didn't understand why the boss told them to be extra careful with Yang Ming. What is so great about this young man? Wang Xiaoyan stopped a taxi and followed. Yang Ming also stopped a taxi. Yang Ming didn't know what reason Wang Xiaoyan used to follow the car in front, but Yang Ming used another method this time. It was inevitable that the same method would be somewhat unnatural if it was used too many times. Yang Ming pretended to hold the mobile phone and said to the phone while getting in the car, "Okay, I'm getting in the car. You tell me. I will tell the driver how to go." When he got in the car, Yang Ming said to the taxi driver, "Mister, you drive forward. You follow my instructions." "Okay." The driver also heard Yang Ming's previous words. He thought that Yang Ming was going to a friend's place and was not familiar with the road. He could only listen to the phone and guide him to drive, so he didn't think much and started the car directly. "Turn right at the intersection in front." Yang Ming saw the taxi that Wang Xiaoyan was in turned to the right. Yang Ming also instructed the driver. The taxi driver thought that the person on the phone told Yang Ming how to go, so he didn't have any doubts at all. He directly followed Yang Ming's instructions and turned right at the intersection in front. The Buick Boulevard in front was not fast, but it couldn't be fast in the downtown area of Macau. Wang Xiaoyan frowned and stared at Jing Xiaoping's car in front of her. This was the downtown area. It was difficult to have a chance to make a move. Even if she made a move, her chances of escaping were not high. There were policemen on duty patrolling the streets not far away. Now Wang Xiaoyan didn't know where Jing Xiaoping was going, but it didn't take long for Wang Xiaoyan to smile. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Chapter 841. Jing Xiaoping's car turned right at the intersection in front, and then drove in the direction of Kowloon Island. Of course, if it were someone else, going in this direction might not necessarily be going to Kowloon Island, but Wang Xiaoyan was sure that Jing Xiaoping must be going in the direction of Kowloon Island. According to the previous investigation, Jing Xiaoping had a total of 3 houses in Macau. In this direction, the closest one to here was the villa on Kowloon Island. Jing Xiaoping rarely went here. He would only go there for a vacation on weekends. Today happened to be Jing Xiaoping's vacation day. Kowloon Island belonged to the suburbs of Macau. There were not too many people at night, especially in the villa area. There were not many people. Moreover, Jing Xiaoping lived alone. There was no one else at home except for his 2 personal bodyguards. It was just convenient to make a move. Of course, this was a facade deliberately created by Jing Xiaoping. The purpose was to lure Wang Xiaoyan here. Wang Xiaoyan wanted to kill him, and he wanted to kill Wang Xiaoyan in turn. Jing Xiaoping sometimes wondered why the boss didn't directly kill Wang Xiaoyan in Songjiang. Why did he have to lure the snake out of its hole to get Wang Xiaoyan to Macau to assassinate her? Although the boss didn't say it to him, Jing Xiaoping probably guessed some reasons later. It was not so easy to kill a person in the mainland, but it was different here. Wang Xiaoyan appeared in Macau as an assassin, so she definitely wouldn't use her real identity to enter Macau through the normal channel. In this way, her identity would not be reflected in the entry and exit records, and she would become a real, illegal resident. If an illegal resident died here, no one would notice it at all. The reason why he chose to use himself to lure Wang Xiaoyan was probably to be on the safe side. Wang Xiaoyan wasn't a fool. It was impossible for her to not investigate a person before she assassinated him. If she randomly grabbed a person to replace him or fabricated a person, it would be easy to reveal flaws and arouse suspicion. That was why they chose him, a well-known consultant in the gambling industry. It just seemed more reasonable. Zheng Xiaoping gritted his teeth and sat in the car. As long as Wang Xiaoyan didn't take action on the way, it would be easy to deal with after returning to the villa. At that time, there was no need to hide anything. The two bosses beside him would send people to deal with Wang Xiaoyan for him. Seeing that the villa was right in front of him, Zheng Xiaoping let out a long sigh of relief. He had just taken a detour from the gates of hell. He was afraid that Wang Xiaoyan would shoot him in the back. He was wearing a bulletproof vest, but not his head. In fact, Wang Xiaoyan was also very anxious. The reason was very simple. She was sitting in the taxi and was unwilling to make a move on the road unless she killed the taxi driver as well. But Wang Xiaoyan didn't want to hurt the innocent. She had her own set of standards of good and evil. Although Zheng Xiaoping was engaged in the gambling industry, it was legal in Macau. However, even if it was legal, Wang Xiaoyan also hated this person. After taking over this business, Wang Xiaoyan investigated Zheng Xiaoping. He had been in the business for 8 years. There were countless small gambling games, but there were 76 big gambling games. More than half of them ruined the other party's family. They either committed suicide on the spot, or they were forced to death by loan sharks with no way out. It was gambling. The consequences of losing were naturally serious, but in Wang Xiaoyan's view, all of this was forced by Zheng Xiaoping. He could have left some leeway for others. Therefore, after figuring out Zheng Xiaoping's character, Wang Xiaoyan didn't have the slightest pity for him. She would just kill him. Zheng Xiaoping's Buick slowly drove into his villa on Kowloon Island. Zheng Xiaoping couldn't help but sigh in relief. It seemed that he should be safe. After the two bodyguards got out of the car, they went to arrange the things in their hands to prepare for the arrival of Wang Xiaoyan. Zheng Xiaoping hid in the villa and didn't dare to come out. His task was basically completed. As the bait, he was already in a cold sweat. He had to take a good bath and drink a cup of hot tea to calm down. Wang Xiaoyan naturally didn't know that someone in the villa had already prepared to welcome her. She still stupidly thought that no one knew. Wang Xiaoyan asked the taxi driver to park the car next to a vending machine not far from the villa. She said, "Just park here." The driver thought that Wang Xiaoyan lived nearby and went to the vending machine to buy something before going home. He didn't ask much. He parked the car, collected the fare, and left. Yang Ming, on the other hand, was holding the phone and pretending to be talking. Oh, I know. Here, right? Okay, I'm here. That's it. See you later. Driver, could you please stop here? The driver naturally thought that Yang Ming had arrived at the location mentioned by the friend on the phone, so he quickly stopped the car. Yang Ming put away the phone, paid the fare, and got off. Yang Ming didn't care about Zheng Xiaoping's life and death at all. He followed Wang Xiaoyan here just because he was curious about what organization Wang Xiaoyan belonged to. Then, he took the opportunity to see how Wang Xiaoyan's skill was. Wang Xiaoyan waited for the taxi to go away. She looked around again and found that no one else was around. Then, she carefully opened her backpack and took out a small lipstick silencer pistol and a dagger in her hand. Wang Xiaoyan didn't have a good assassination weapon. This lipstick pistol was already considered good. The mainland was the most difficult place to get guns. It was probably the place with the strictest gun control in the world. But to be honest, this lipstick pistol was the same as the dagger. It was a weapon for close combat. It had no effect if it was far away. After preparing all this, Wang Xiaoyan tiptoed to the villa. Yang Ming followed Wang Xiaoyan calmly. When he saw the two assassination weapons in Wang Xiaoyan's hands, Yang Ming shook his head. His vigilance toward Wang Xiaoyan was also reduced a lot. The assassin organization that Wang Xiaoyan belonged to was definitely not a large organization. This could be seen from the weapons she used. When a high-level assassin set out, he would either bring the best equipment or nothing at all. Of course, the best equipment referred to professional guns such as infrared sniper rifles, which were suitable for long-distance assassination. For close-range assassination, they generally didn't take anything. Yang Ming belonged to the latter. Anything in his hand could become a murder weapon. While thinking, Wang Xiaoyan had already arrived outside the villa. Although the villa had thick walls and strong iron gates, there was no monitoring system. This made Wang Xiaoyan couldn't help but be happy. The opportunity was rare. This was a good place to do it. The terrain was remote, and there was only one door. If something happened, it would be difficult to be discovered. Thinking of this, Wang Xiaoyan began to inquire about the way to enter the villa. After walking around the villa, she found that the walls outside the villa were similar. However, behind the villa, there was a transformer box. From this transformer box, it was easier to climb into the villa. Wang Xiaoyan certainly didn't think that this transformer box was just a decoration. There was no transformer inside. It was completely an empty shell. Zheng Xiaoping deliberately set up an illusion here to facilitate Wang Xiaoyan to enter the villa. Wang Xiaoyan didn't know, but someone knew. This person was Yang Ming. It was also a coincidence. When Yang Ming saw Wang Xiaoyan lock her eyes on this transformer box, he knew that she wanted to use this transformer box to climb over the wall and enter the villa. Yang Ming subconsciously wanted to use his special ability to take a look at the situation in the villa. At this time, his gaze naturally passed through the transformer box. Yang Ming was surprised to find that the transformer box was empty. And it was very new inside. There wasn't even a trace of dust. This couldn't help but arouse Yang Ming's suspicion. How could there be no transformer in the transformer box? Well, even if it was an abandoned transformer box, there should be dust and rust inside, right? How could it be so clean? Obviously, it was impossible. With this layer of suspicion, Yang Ming carefully checked the situation in the villa. It didn't matter if he checked, but he couldn't help but be shocked. Inside the walls of the villa, there were actually two guys waiting for him. This gave Yang Ming a huge shock. The villa's security is so tight. But then Yang Ming denied this idea. It was because these two people were the two bodyguards that Zheng Xiaoping brought back. Besides here, there was no one else. It seemed that these two people were waiting for Wang Xiaoyan. Could it be that Zheng Xiaoping had already noticed? He sent these two people here to wait for Wang Xiaoyan to take the bait. It seems unlikely. Yang Ming carefully recalled all of Wang Xiaoyan's behavior today. There was nothing suspicious. Most of the time, she was with him. She didn't even have any contact with Zheng Xiaoping. Unless Zheng Xiaoping was a prophet, it was impossible for him to know that Wang Xiaoyan would be unfavorable to him. Of course, this was under normal circumstances. There was another possibility that Zheng Xiaoping had long known that someone was unfavorable to him, and deliberately set up today's situation. The transformer box was the best evidence. Of course, even if Yang Ming was smart, he wouldn't think that all of this was self-directed by Jing Xiaoping and his behind-the-scenes boss. It was because Yang Ming never thought that there would be any personal grievances between them and Wang Xiaoyan. In Yang Ming's view, the advertisement hiring the assassin had a certain degree of randomness and chance, so he simply didn't think that these people would target Wang Xiaoyan. Yang Ming thought that Jing Xiaoping probably had already noticed that someone wanted to harm him. Of course, there were many sources of this information, or he himself knew that he had recently offended someone, so he had a hunch in this regard. So he deliberately set up today's situation to lure this assassin. As for how he would deal with Wang Xiaoyan after catching her, Yang Ming couldn't guess. Either he would kill her directly, or he would use a strategy of sowing discord to let the assassin go back and kill the person who hired her. Chapter 842. However, Yang Ming would never allow Jing Xiaoping's people to kill Wang Xiaoyan. Not to mention the relationship between Wang Xiaoyan and Zhao Ying, Wang Xiaoyan herself and Yang Ming were also friends, and they were neighbors. It was impossible for Yang Ming to ignore it. The most important thing was that Yang Ming suspected that Wang Xiaoyan was related to the Black Widow assassin organization. Yang Ming wanted to figure out why the Black Widow wanted to attack him, so he had to start with Wang Xiaoyan. If Wang Xiaoyan died, wouldn't the clues he just got be broken again? Therefore, no matter what, Yang Ming would not let Wang Xiaoyan die. Seeing that Wang Xiaoyan had planned to climb up the transformer box, Yang Ming did not dare to stay any longer. He quickly ran over there. Because Yang Ming saw that one of the two bodyguards on the wall had already raised the iron bar in his hand. He was waiting for Wang Xiaoyan to jump down so that he could hit her with the bar. Yang Ming was shocked. If this bar hit her head, Wang Xiaoyan would be disabled even if she did not die. Yang Ming did not care much. He was not afraid that Wang Xiaoyan would find him. He ran directly to Wang Xiaoyan's leg and pulled her directly from the transformer box. Wang Xiaoyan suddenly felt that someone was pulling her, and she couldn't help but be shocked. When she fell to the ground, she looked back and saw that it was Yang Ming. She couldn't help but frown. Isn't this the Lulei that I met today? Why is he here? What are you doing? Wang Xiaoyan looked at Yang Ming vigilantly and asked in a low voice. Saving you. Yang Ming looked at Wang Xiaoyan's expression and found it funny. This chick not only did not accept his kindness, but she also acted as if he ruined her good deed. Save me. Wang Xiaoyan naturally did not believe it. Who are you? Are you following me? I don't have time to explain to you. Yang Ming glanced inside the wall with his special ability and said quickly, You are being schemed against. The two bodyguards on the wall saw that Wang Xiaoyan did not come in for a long time, and they were anxious. At this time, they heard someone talking outside. They were afraid that something unexpected would happen, and they were afraid that they could not complete the task given by the boss. They were anxious and wanted to climb over the wall. Wang Xiaoyan still looked at Yang Ming very suspiciously. His words were too confusing. However, in the next moment, Wang also realized the danger. Two people quickly jumped out from behind the wall. Wang Xiaoyan was shocked by how nimble their movements were. These two people were Jing Xiaoping's previous bodyguards, but through his own investigation, these two bodyguards were hired by Jing Xiaoping from ordinary security companies. Their skills were definitely better than the average person, but compared to the professionals, they should be far worse. But now it seemed that the skills of these two people should not be worse than her, or even better than her. Wang Xiaoyan was shocked. She couldn't care about Yang Ming anymore. She took out a dagger from her body and looked at the two bodyguards with a dignified expression. After the two bodyguards climbed out, they did not stop. One held an iron bar in his hand, and the other was barehanded. They directly greeted Wang Xiaoyan. The two also saw Yang Ming, but they did not care at this time. The boss only asked them to kill Wang Xiaoyan. If they saw Yang Ming, they would also kill Yang Ming. But the man in front of them was not Yang Ming at all, so the two did not bother with him. Instead, they made killing Wang Xiaoyan the primary task. Although Wang Xiaoyan wore makeup, it was far worse than Yang Ming. As long as they looked carefully, they could distinguish it. On the other hand, Yang Ming had changed his appearance. He had completely transformed into another person. It would be strange if these two people could see through his disguise. Wang Xiaoyan's petite body was instantly surrounded by these two macho men. In just 2 moves, Yang Ming could see that the kung fu of these two people belonged to the kind of cross-training. One person used the iron bar to perfection, and the other person's fist was also powerful. Just by looking, Yang Ming knew that Wang Xiaoyan could not be the opponent of these two people, including himself. It was unknown whether he would be at a disadvantage if he fought with them head-on. Although Wang Xiaoyan was agile and her kung fu was not weak, most of her skills were skillful. When a killer killed, the main thing was to be fast, ruthless, and accurate, and to give the enemy a fatal blow when they least expected it. In such a close combat like now, let alone 2 against 1, even Wang Xiaoyan was not their opponent in a one-on-one fight. After only 2 moves, the sweat on Wang Xiaoyan's head came out. She was the person involved. She was more clear about the strength of these two people than Yang Ming. Let alone assassinating Jing Xiaoping, it was a problem whether she could escape from these two people in one piece. Come and help. Wang Xiaoyan shouted to Yang Ming in a hurry. At this time, regardless of whether Yang Ming was an enemy or a friend, just based on this point that he just reminded her, he was definitely not with the two people in front of her. Of course, Yang Ming would not leave her in the lurch. Otherwise, he would not have reminded Wang Xiaoyan just now. It was just that Yang Ming was waiting for the opportunity at the moment. Yang Ming was not stupid. He would not use his own disadvantage to meet the other's advantage. Therefore, Yang Ming wanted to find the best time to give them a sneak attack, but Wang Xiaoyan's shout ruined his entire plan. Yang Ming couldn't help but be annoyed, but there was no way. Now, even if he didn't make a move, these two macho men would regard him as Wang Xiaoyan's accomplice. They would be vigilant against him. Thinking of this, Yang Ming no longer hesitated. He accelerated his run-up. His body rose into the air, and a flying kick kicked the macho man with the iron rod. It was the first time that Yang Ming made a move. The macho man with the iron rod did not dare to be negligent. He raised the iron rod in his hand and blocked Yang Ming. Yang Ming was expressionless, but he smiled slightly in his heart. It seemed that he made the right bet. Yang Ming wanted this effect. It was his first move, and the other party did not know his depth. As long as people with a little brain would be cautious, it was impossible to fight with him head-on. Yang Ming grasped this point, so he made such a bold move. The macho man with the iron rod was just as Yang Ming expected. He only used the iron rod to block Yang Ming's attack and did not dare to fight head-on. Yang Ming kicked the iron rod. The macho man felt the strength of Yang Ming, and his heart suddenly relaxed. It seems that he is just a so-so. I thought he was a tough opponent. Compared to me, he is far worse. The macho man breathed a sigh of relief. He was preparing to teach Yang Ming a lesson after he landed. However, he did not expect that Yang Ming's other leg suddenly changed direction in the air and kicked toward the macho man's neck. Although the macho man realized that something was wrong, it was too late to resist. He blamed himself for letting his guard down. Now, it was useless to do anything. However, he didn't understand. Yang Ming had already kicked once in the air. How could he kick again without landing on the ground? This was not a movie. The Macho Man had never seen such a series of flying kicks in Kung Fu. But what if he did not know? He had no chance to know. The Macho Man originally felt the strength of Yang Ming. Although he was kicked by Yang Ming and was kicked by Yang Ming, he did not feel anything. The strength of Yang Ming's kick was only so-so. Moreover, it was the second kick. The strength should be weaker than the first kick. The kick would definitely not hurt him. However, he was wrong. Although the strength of Yang Ming's kick did not bring a special impact to him, it also depended on where the kick was. He thought that his Kung Fu was superb, but he did not know that no matter how powerful the Kung Fu was, the human body was still made of flesh. There were still many acupuncture points on the neck. As the successor of Fang Tian, Yang Ming was particularly proficient in the acupuncture points. Yang Ming's kick hit his Yamen acupuncture point. The Yamen acupuncture point was one of the 36 death acupuncture points in the human body. It was the intersection point of the Du Meridian, and the Yang Wei Meridian. After being hit, it would impact the medulla oblongata. The person would lose his voice, become dizzy, and fall unconscious. Yang Ming's kick was enough to make him unconscious for a few hours. Before the Macho Man could figure out what was going on, he fell to the ground in a daze. The other Macho Man who relied on his iron fist for a living thought that the Macho Man with the iron rod was more than enough to deal with Yang Ming. However, he did not expect to be defeated by Yang Ming in just one move. He did not know the depth of Yang Ming. He thought that Yang Ming's flying kick was like his iron fist, which had been practiced to the point of perfection. He did not dare to be negligent. In an instant, the situation was reversed. From the initial 2-on-1 to the current 1-on-2. I didn't expect that you have an expert around you. The Macho Man with the iron fist glanced at the Macho Man with the iron rod who fell to the ground. Judging from the rise and fall of his chest, he was only unconscious. There was no danger to his life. Wang Xiaoyan did not expect Yang Ming to knock out the Macho Man with the iron rod with one kick. She was surprised. She was more suspicious of Yang Ming's origin. However, at this moment, it seemed that Yang Ming and she were on the same side. Yang Ming did not speak. He just stared coldly at the Macho Man with the iron fist. He was thinking about how to knock him down. It was obviously useless to use the unexpected move just now. The Macho Man with the iron fist would definitely avoid a head-on confrontation with him. But when he understood the depth of his strength, it would be even more difficult to kill him. Let's practice. The Macho Man with the iron fist pointed at Yang Ming and said coldly. He could not wait for Yang Ming to answer. He waved his iron fist and smashed toward Yang Ming. Yang Ming was not stupid. How would he be willing to fight head-on? At the critical moment, Yang Ming inadvertently remembered something. Then, a smile appeared on his face. The Macho Man with the iron fist moved. Yang Ming also moved. Yang Ming passed by Wang Xiaoyan. He pushed Wang Xiaoyan and said, "You go to the side first." The Macho Man with the iron fist thought that Yang Ming wanted to fight with him alone. He did not care. After all, in the current situation, if he did not kill Yang Ming, this thorn in his side, he could not continue to kill Wang Xiaoyan. The Macho Man with the iron fist smashed his fist. Yang Ming also flew up from the ground and kicked over. The Macho Man with the iron fist had seen the power of Yang Ming's flying kick before. He did not dare to neglect. He was vigilant and carefully guarded while waiting for the opportunity to punch. Poof! A faint muffled sound. A bloody hole suddenly appeared on the head of the Macho Man with the iron fist. You cheated. The Macho Man with the iron fist said the last sentence. His huge body fell to the ground. Cheated. Yang Ming took a deep breath. Only an idiot would fight head-on with you. Yang Ming was concerned about whether the organization behind Wang Xiaoyan was related to the Black Widow. At present, this incident had no direct relationship with Yang Ming. Therefore, Yang Ming wouldn't be a busybody to do this. He just wanted to figure out which organization was behind Wang Xiaoyan. Where do you live? Yang Ming took Wang Xiaoyan's hand and asked as he ran. Xinhai Hotel. Wang Xiaoyan had no idea now. This was the first time she went so far to accept a mission alone, and she made a mistake. In the final analysis, no matter what her hidden identity was, she showed the helpless side of a little girl at this time. When Yang Ming asked, she said everything. Wang Xiaoyan was also very scared now. If it weren't for Yang Ming, she couldn't imagine what would happen to her today. Even if she didn't die, she wouldn't be able to leave easily. In any case, now it was Yang Ming who saved her. She naturally regarded Yang Ming as a person she could rely on. After the two people ran for a long distance, Yang Ming slowed down and whispered, "Let's take a taxi in a while. Don't go back to the Xinhai Hotel. Is there any other place nearby?" "Yes, there is a Xinhai shopping mall. It sells some new fashion," Wang Xiaoyan said. "Well, let's take a taxi to a random place, then go to the Xinhai shopping mall, and then walk back." Yang Ming told Wang Xiaoyan, "After a while, when we get in the car, you and I will pretend to be a couple. Don't say anything else so as not to cause more trouble." Wang Xiaoyan was very surprised by Yang Ming's calmness. He just killed people, but it seemed that nothing happened. Wang Xiaoyan asked herself that she couldn't do what Yang Ming did. Her feeling of Yang Ming now was that Yang Ming was more and more like an assassin, a more professional assassin than her. However, Wang Xiaoyan knew that now was not the time to ask questions. Although Wang Xiaoyan had a lot of doubts, she was not stupid. She knew that if she asked too much now, it might cause Yang Ming to be disgusted. It was not too late to talk about it after they were safe. After listening to Yang Ming's words, Wang Xiaoyan nodded. She reached out and gently straddled Yang Ming's arm. The two looked like a couple. Yang Ming reached out and stopped a taxi, and then went to the back of the car with Wang Xiaoyan. "Ha, young man, have you made up with your girlfriend?" The taxi driver smiled and turned back. Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect things to be so coincidental. This driver was actually the one who dragged him to follow Wang Xiaoyan. Fortunately, the performance of Wang Xiaoyan and I now look like a couple with a good relationship, so I smiled and nodded. "Yeah, I have been persuading her all afternoon. Let's find a restaurant to eat something. We are all hungry." "Okay." After the taxi driver listened, there was no doubt at all. What Yang Ming said to him before was completely consistent with what he saw now. What was there to doubt? The taxi driver was not puzzled, but Wang Xiaoyan was very puzzled. She looked at Yang Ming strangely. She didn't know what he said to the taxi driver before, but although Wang Xiaoyan was puzzled, she couldn't ask. Otherwise, it would be bad. Yang Ming also saw Wang Xiaoyan's doubts. He put his hand on her shoulder and leaned her body to his side. He whispered in her ear, "I will tell you when we go back." Wang Xiaoyan grew up, and she didn't even have a boyfriend. When had she ever been so close to a boy? Her whole body trembled slightly, and her breathing became a little hurried. Wang Xiaoyan also knew that she was acting at the moment, but she couldn't help but look at Yang Ming. If she knew that the person in front of her was the person who sent her flowers every day, I wonder what she would feel. Yang Ming had told the driver before that the two of them were tourists from other places. They came here to travel, so Yang Ming didn't say where to eat. The driver drove the car to the door of a very special Macau snack shop and then recommended, "The food here is good. It is affordable and delicious. We are tired from driving at night, so we often eat here." "Okay, thank you," Yang Ming said as he took out the money to pay for the taxi fare. The taxi driver waved his hand and smiled. "Forget it. It's not far. The money you paid me before is enough. Just take it as a ride." Yang Ming listened to the taxi driver's words and smiled. He didn't argue with him again. He just said, "Thank you." He pulled Wang Xiaoyan out of the car together. The two walked to the snack shop recommended by the driver. "Are you hungry?" Yang Ming had been here all night. He hadn't eaten yet, so he was already very hungry. Wang Xiaoyan was actually the same. When Yang Ming asked, she really felt a little hungry, so she nodded and said, "A little, let's eat something first." Yang Ming said to Wang Xiaoyan, "We will talk about other things when we go back." "Okay." Wang Xiaoyan nodded subconsciously. In Macau, she had no relatives. With such a thing happening now, Wang Xiaoyan really felt helpless. She left home in a fit of anger. She wanted to make some achievements to show her family, but now, after so many years, she was still herself. After graduation, she had to listen to her family and go back to get married. Wang Xiaoyan imagined everything too ideally. She didn't consider this situation at all in the plan. In her opinion, as long as she was careful, she could complete this seemingly simple task. This was a franchise store that mainly served sirloin called Old Wu's Sirloin. There were only 2 flavors, curry sirloin and original sirloin. However, there were a lot of people eating. When Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan came, there was only 1 table left. The previous customer had just finished eating and left the table. Yang Ming ordered 2 servings of original sirloin rice noodles and ate 1 bowl with Wang Xiaoyan. The taste was really good, but Yang Ming, who was used to eating rice as the staple food, was really not very interested in rice noodles. It was okay to eat it occasionally, but he would naturally get tired of it if he ate too much. At this moment, a young man with a shaved head and a black leather jacket came in the food stall. Next to him was a teenage girl. The girl's dress was a typical non-mainstream style. Her hair was styled like an explosion, and her ears were pierced with a lot of earrings. The girl's original face couldn't be seen clearly. Like most non-mainstream styles, she seemed to be carved out of a mold. Yang Ming was very disgusted with girls who dressed like this. Natural beauty was the most beautiful. You didn't look like a human or a ghost. You thought you were very fashionable, but in fact, you were making a fool of yourself. The watermelon head looked at the full number of people and couldn't help but frown. He scolded, "Motherfucker, why are there so many people?" Yang Ming was a little disgusted with this person's dirty mouth. Although Yang Ming sometimes said dirty words, it was only directed at some specific people who should be scolded. Usually, he wouldn't scold casually. There aren't so many people usually. The non-mainstream girl said coquettishly, "What should I do? Dear, can you think of a way?" The watermelon head was a master who was used to being arrogant. He was a famous punk on this street. At this time, when he heard his girlfriend acting coquettishly with him, a sense of heroism suddenly surged into his heart. He looked around in private and finally stopped at the table of Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. Chapter 844. Although the watermelon head was very arrogant, he wasn't a fool. He specifically picked the soft ones to bully. After looking around in the store, he found that Yang Ming's table looked easier to bully. Both of them didn't look so fierce. They should belong to the relatively soft kind. Especially looking at Wang Xiaoyan's dress, she seemed to be a tourist here. He was thinking about how to drive the two away, but the girl next to him was a little impatient. Hurry up. I'm starving. Don't you always say that you are the boss of this street? Why can't you do such a small thing? The watermelon head was provoked by his girlfriend, and he was a little anxious. He pointed to the table of Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan and said, "Let's sit there." As he said that, he took his girlfriend and walked to Yang Ming's table. He patted Yang Ming's table with his hand and said, Okay, don't eat. You haven't eaten before. Hurry up and get out of the way." Yang Ming looked up at the watermelon head and said faintly, "We haven't finished eating yet. Even if we finish eating, maybe we still want to order something else." If it were normal times, Yang Ming would have already slapped him. This little bastard dares to be cocky with me. But today, Yang Ming killed someone. He didn't want to cause trouble, so he endured it. He replied with a calm tone. But what he didn't expect was that Yang Ming didn't want to cause trouble, but the watermelon head wasn't willing to settle the matter peacefully. He glared and said, "You motherfucker, I give you face and talk. If I don't give you face, I will directly take you out. Don't you know who your grandfather is? My grandfather died long ago. If you are not afraid of bad luck, you can continue to pretend." Yang Ming didn't want to cause trouble, so he endured it and didn't make a move. But want to take advantage of Yang Ming's words? Not a chance. "Dear," he scolded you. The non-mainstream girl wasn't a good person either. She was afraid that things would be too troublesome, and it would ignite a fire in the already tense atmosphere. After the watermelon head heard it, he felt that he lost face. With a pooh, he spat into Wang Xiaoyan's bowl and scolded, "Motherfucker, I will give you 1 second to get out, or I will kill you." Wang Xiaoyan was eating with relish, but when Watermelon Head spat a mouthful of thick phlegm into her bowl, she was so disgusted that she almost vomited what she had eaten before. As such, it was obviously impossible to continue eating. Wang Xiaoyan almost exploded in anger. How did she know that Yang Ming didn't want to cause trouble? She thought that they were just two punks. Yang Ming could take care of them with just one finger. Looking at Yang Ming's murderous look, she knew that Yang Ming was a ruthless master, but she didn't expect that Yang Ming didn't make a move, but the watermelon head spat a mouthful of phlegm. How could Wang Xiaoyan think as much as Yang Ming? At this moment, she was angry. She directly picked up the bowl of rice noodles from the table. Whoosh! The bowl of rice noodles with soup mixed with thick phlegm was poured on the head of the watermelon head. This rice noodles was hot. When it was poured on the head of the watermelon head, it suddenly burned him. Fuck! He screamed and began to dance. He looked terrible. The owner of Old Wu's brisket shop also noticed the fight here at this time. He quickly ran over and saw that the watermelon head had become like this. He was shocked. "Brother Kong, brother, you motherfucker." The watermelon head scolded, "I will cripple this dog couple today." How did you offend Brother Kong? Hurry up and apologize to Brother Kong." The boss didn't want to make a big deal out of it. He quickly winked at Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. "You are tourists from other places. Brother Kong is the boss of this street. You can't afford to offend him." Although Yang Ming didn't want to cause trouble, he wasn't afraid of trouble. Apologizing to a rascal was simply impossible. Wang Xiaoyan didn't have that thought. Instead, she wanted to continue to teach this guy called Brother Kong a lesson. Apologize. Hey, it's too late. The watermelon head took out a dagger from the waist of his pants. "I will let you bleed today." As he said this, he stabbed at Yang Ming. Since things had already come to this point, Yang Ming had nothing to worry about. He directly picked up the stool under him and put it on the watermelon head from top to bottom. Then, he kicked the watermelon head's waist and directly kicked the watermelon head to the ground. He said disdainfully, "You still want to pretend with me like this? I will also give you a second. If you don't disappear now, you don't have to disappear. Don't mention those means of killing." In terms of fighting, the Watermelon Head wasn't Yang Ming's opponent. The nickname Madman Yang was not casually called out. It was earned from fighting. The level of the Watermelon Head, compared with the two bodyguards who practiced ward kung fu today, was like heaven and earth. The upper body of the Watermelon Head was still covered with a stool. His hands were tied inside. It was difficult to get up from the ground, but he now understood that he had encountered a tough opponent. The Watermelon Head was also a veteran of fighting. He could feel whether the other party had kung fu. Yang Ming's fighting posture was completely at ease. He was not in a hurry. This kind of person was a master who often fought. Unlike those who had never fought before, if they fought, they would fight with all their might. At the moment, he didn't speak. He quickly left the brisket shop with the help of his girlfriend. Wang Xiaoyan wasn't worried about Yang Ming at all. That little punk dared to provoke two professional killers. He was simply tired of living. When it came to fighting, both of them were the ancestors of fighting. Yang Ming pulled a chair from the side and sat down. He shouted to the stunned brisket shop owner, "Boss, please give me 2 more bowls of rice noodles. And try the curry flavor this time." "Ah." The boss suddenly recovered from the horror. He looked in the direction where the Watermelon Head had disappeared. He quickly said to Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan, "Young people, do you know who the person you just fought is? Didn't you say it before? What boss of this street?" Yang Ming smiled indifferently. "Since you know, do you still dare to provoke him?" The boss widened his eyes. "You should hurry up and leave. If he brings people over, you won't be able to leave. This group of people are not ordinary people. They are gangsters. Why would they come out? Murder and arson are common in their eyes." Murder and arson. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan looked at each other and couldn't help but smile. Saying that the little punks committed murder and arson was really flattering them. Compared with what Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan did, it was simply a small thing in the presence of a big one. It was nothing. "Boss, don't bother with them. In broad daylight, do they dare to gather people to fight?" Yang Ming smiled. "Just give us 2 bowls of rice noodles." AI. When the brisket shop owner saw that Yang Ming didn't listen to his advice, he couldn't help it. He thought that Yang Ming was a fledgling kid who didn't know the dangers of society. He shook his head and went to prepare the rice noodles. "Why didn't you do it before? Couldn't you just throw him out directly?" After the boss left, Wang Xiaoyan complained to Yang Ming in a low voice, "Now it's great. It's so disgusting. Little princess, you are causing trouble." Yang Ming said helplessly, "Do you know our current identities?" "Ah." Wang Xiaoyan realized that the two seemed to be in a state of escaping from murder. She suddenly lowered her head in embarrassment. "Sorry, I forgot." "Forget it. Let's leave after eating." Yang Ming thought about it. It didn't matter. His current appearance was changed, and Wang Xiaoyan definitely didn't enter Macau through the normal procedures, so he didn't have to worry so much. Wang Xiaoyan nodded obediently this time. She also knew that this time she could get away because of Yang Ming. Otherwise, she would be finished. After a while, 2 bowls of hot curry brisket noodles were served. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan quickly finished eating, and then paid the bill to the boss. Yang Ming wanted to give the boss the money for 4 bowls, but the boss insisted on only receiving 2 bowls. After all, the unpleasantness just happened in his store, and he also had a certain responsibility, so the 2 bowls were exempted from the bill. After going out, Yang Ming stopped a taxi, and the two still sat side by side in the back seat. Yang Ming told the driver that the two were going to Xinhua Mall. As soon as Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan left, a gray-white van stopped at the door of the old Wu's brisket shop. The watermelon head jumped down first, holding a bright machete in his hand, followed by 4 or 5 strong young men. They were either holding iron bars or knives in their hands. The watermelon head swaggered into the brisket shop and glanced inside the shop, but he didn't find Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. He suddenly frowned. Damn, did the two of them already run away? Boss? Where are the adulterous couple just now? The watermelon head shouted at the boss who was holding the brisket noodles. Brother Kong, they have already left. The brisket shop owner said carefully. Left? When did they leave? The watermelon head asked depressingly. They have been gone for 5 minutes. In fact, Yang Ming and the others had only left for 2 or 3 minutes, but the brisket shop owner deliberately said 5 minutes and said more. 5 minutes. Damn, they ran quite fast, just like a fucking rabbit. The watermelon head knew that he couldn't catch up when he heard it. They could go far in 5 minutes. Brother Kong, you and your brother should eat 2 bowls of rice noodles, my treat. The boss said with a smile. Eat my ass. The watermelon head swung his hand and resentfully took his people out of the brisket shop. He wanted to bring people to teach the man and woman just now a lesson, but he let them run away. However, the watermelon head never thought that when he came back this time, it was equivalent to stepping into the threshold of hell. If he didn't have the idea of coming back to find trouble, he might be able to escape. But now, Yang Ming didn't find trouble with him, but there were others waiting for him. Chapter 845. Watermelon head cursed as he got on the van, and the van slowly drove away from old Wu's brisket shop. Watermelon head nagged as he drove, he's a fucking coward. Why didn't he dare to wait for me? The van turned into an alley. This was Watermelon Head's base camp, an abandoned warehouse. Creak. Watermelon Head stepped on the brakes, and the van suddenly stopped. A middle-aged man stood in front of the van with a blank expression, and the van stopped in front of him. Fuck your mother, do you want to die? Watermelon Head shook open the glass and stuck his head out and scolded, hurry up and get out of the way. I don't care if you hit me to death. Although Watermelon Head said so, he still didn't dare to hit him. If he wanted to hit him, he would have hit him just now, and he wouldn't have stopped. Although Watermelon Head was a punk, he didn't dare to kill anyone. Even if he was a punk, it would be a big deal if he killed someone. The middle-aged man still stood in front of the van with a blank expression. He didn't even move or speak. Are you fucking deaf? Watermelon Head jumped out of the van as soon as he opened the door and reached out to push the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man dodged gently and avoided Watermelon Head's hand. "Oh. You're quite badass, right? You still dare to dodge." Watermelon Head didn't find Yang Ming just now, so he was already angry. Now that the middle-aged man did this, he immediately became angry again. Brothers, come down and teach this idiot how to behave. As soon as Watermelon Head said this, several men in the van picked up their weapons and jumped down. They wanted to fix the middle-aged man who pretended to be badass with their boss. In an instant, the middle-aged man was surrounded in the middle. Hee, I say, uncle. There is a road to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There is no door to hell, but you walk in. Watermelon Head sneered. I was worried about where to vent my anger, and you came to me. If I don't fix you today, then I am sorry for myself. The middle-aged man didn't speak. He still stood there with a blank expression. This is a deaf man. Boss, don't talk nonsense with him. Just beat him until he is disabled. One of the men impatiently raised the iron bar in his hand and was about to step forward to greet the middle-aged man. Just as the iron bar was about to fall, the middle-aged man moved, but no one saw how he moved. The man who was holding the iron bar flew out with the iron bar and fell heavily to the ground. The moment he landed on the ground, the middle-aged man moved again. He viciously stomped his foot on the underling's chest. Crack! The sound of bones breaking could be heard. The subordinate let out a blood-curdling scream as his eyes rolled back. Blood kept spurting out from his nose and mouth. Watermelon Head was stunned by the sudden action of the middle-aged man. He just stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. The subordinates who were about to make a move were the same, staring blankly at the middle-aged man. In the end, someone shouted, "Run!" Only then did these people recover from the shock and scramble to get on the bus. However, the middle-aged man suddenly snatched a knife from the hand of a small gangster. With a few strokes, several gangsters, including the Watermelon Head, all fell down, and blood flowed like a river. The middle-aged man glanced at the few corpses on the ground disdainfully and threw the knife in his hand aside. "Do you think people like you deserve to find trouble with the young lady?" The middle-aged man snorted coldly and dragged the corpses of several people to the van. Then he sat in the driver's seat of the van and drove the van away. In a secluded grove, the middle-aged man took a shovel and quickly dug a big pit. He threw the corpses of several people in, and then buried them with soil. Finally, he set up a small wooden tablet on top of the grave. There was nothing on it except for the word tombstone. This was the habit of the middle-aged man. After killing someone, if possible, he would set up a tombstone for the dead. In fact, many assassins had very strange habits. The middle-aged man was like this, and so was the Hawkeye Group assassin, Delay Man 001, brought by Ouyang Junwei's father. It was just that the habit of the middle-aged man was nothing, but the habit of Delay Man 001 made him die. After doing all this, the middle-aged man left the scene as if nothing had happened. He took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. "Butler Moo, it's me," the middle-aged man said to the other side of the phone. "How is the situation? Did you figure it out?" The person called Butler Moo on the other end of the phone asked anxiously. "I figured it out. The person who came here is indeed the young lady," said the middle-aged man. "Sure enough, you did a good job." Butler Moo breathed a sigh of relief. "Remember, no matter what the situation is, you must ensure the safety of the young lady." "I understand." The middle-aged man certainly understood, otherwise, he wouldn't have taken care of a few garbage. "Okay, then you continue to follow up on this matter. If there is any situation, report to me at any time." Butler Moo said, "Is there anything else? If not, I will hang up the phone. I have to go and make coffee for the master." "Wait a minute." The middle-aged man said, "There is one more thing." "What's the matter?" asked Butler Moo. "Just now, the young lady was in danger when performing the mission. I wanted to take action, but another person took the lead." The middle-aged man reported. "Who is it?" Butler Moo asked with a tight expression. "I don't know. It's a person I've never seen before, but judging from his skills, he's also a person in the same line. At that time, he only used 2 moves, so I couldn't see through his moves." The middle-aged man said. "Where is he now?" asked Butler Moo. "He is with the young lady." This was what the middle-aged man was most worried about. He didn't know whether the other party was an enemy or a friend. Otherwise, there were so many assassins in the world. What did it have to do with him? He wouldn't care about it. What? Butler Moo was shocked. "You must investigate his identity and his purpose. Don't let anything happen to the young lady." Otherwise, you and I have to apologize in front of the master with our heads." "I understand," said the middle-aged man quickly. "If there is news, call me immediately," Butler Moose said. Hanging up the phone, the middle-aged man wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. Such a guy who kills without blinking actually has a time when he is afraid. The young lady in the middle-aged man's mouth was naturally Wang Xiaoyan, and that person was Yang Ming. The task given by the master was to secretly protect the young lady, but not let the young lady find out about his existence. Therefore, the middle-aged man didn't dare to appear in front of the young lady. There was no way to directly find Yang Ming to find out. He could only wait for Yang Ming to break up with the young lady before making a plan. The middle-aged man didn't track Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming at the moment because he already knew where Wang Xiaoyan's hotel was. He would go there directly in a while. There was no need to track. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan took a taxi to the Xinhai shopping mall. The two people walked around the mall for a while. Yang Ming didn't intend to buy anything, but Wang Xiaoyan was interested in a butterfly-shaped hair clip. It wasn't much money. Yang Ming simply bought it generously and gave it to Wang Xiaoyan. Wang Xiaoyan didn't thank him. She accepted it with peace of mind. In her opinion, the thrill that the two had just experienced was life and death, so they had some friendship. It wasn't far from the Xinhai Hotel. After the two left the mall, they walked directly back to the Xinhai Hotel where Wang Xiaoyan lived. The Xinhai Hotel was also a relatively large hotel. There were many people coming in and out every day. The waiter couldn't remember the appearance of the guests. Seeing that Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming were going to take the elevator, he just checked Wang Xiaoyan's room card and found that she was a guest of the Xinhai Hotel, so he let them go. Wang Xiaoyan lived in a couple's room. The room had a whole big bed. Wang Xiaoyan felt that it was more comfortable to sleep like this. She didn't like the narrowness of the small bed. After the two entered the room and closed the door, Wang Xiaoyan took her hand off Yang Ming's arm. The show was over. "Lu Lei. Who are you?" At the moment, Wang Xiaoyan no longer believed the words that Yang Ming said to her before. "What work here?" It should be completely fabricated by him, including the name Lu Lei. It should be fake. "Wait." Yang Ming didn't answer Wang Xiaoyan's words, but he made a gesture to wait. He looked up and searched around the room for something, and Wang Xiaoyan was somewhat inexplicable. She wasn't afraid that Yang Ming would harm her. If he were to harm her, he wouldn't have saved her before. So no matter what Yang Ming did, Wang Xiaoyan didn't have any vigilance. Yang Ming waved his hand and motioned to Wang Xiaoyan not to be impatient. Then he walked to the desk, picked up the chair on the side, and put it next to the door of the room. After that, Yang Ming jumped on the chair and reached out to take a small black cube from the top of the door frame. After taking it down, Yang Ming threw it on the desk, took off his shoes, stood on Wang Xiaoyan's bed, and took a similar small cube from the chandelier. Wang Xiaoyan stared blankly at Yang Ming, her face full of disbelief. Then, Yang Ming found a total of 5 similar small black cubes in the hidden places of the entire room. Finally, he threw them on the ground and smashed them with the chair leg until all the small cubes were smashed, revealing the circuit chip inside. Yang Ming didn't stop until all the small cubes were smashed, revealing the circuit chip inside. Wang Xiaoyan knew what Yang Ming took down the first small cube. She was also an assassin, so this kind of small equipment was naturally not unfamiliar to her. This was a kind of wireless eavesdropping device that could transmit sound to a receiver within a radius of 300 meters. However, although Wang Xiaoyan understood this, she never dreamed that there would be such a thing in the room she lived in. Chapter 846. Tapping Device. Although Wang Xiaoyan had already confirmed the function of these things in her heart, she couldn't help but ask. "And, it seems that your trip to Macau has long been within the calculations of others." Yang Ming smiled. It seemed that Wang Xiaoyan was still very immature. After she moved into the room, she didn't expect that someone would install a tapping device in her room. "Did you choose this hotel early, or did you choose it at the last minute?" "I chose it at the last minute." As Wang Xiaoyan said this, she couldn't help but exclaim, "So, when I just arrived in Macau, I was targeted." It seemed that Wang Xiaoyan was not stupid. She immediately thought of the key to the matter. "It looks like this is the case." Yang Ming nodded. "So, this whole thing should be self-directed by Jing Xiaoping. The purpose is to deal with you." "Deal with me?" Wang Xiaoyan was obviously stunned after listening. "Yes, did you offend someone?" asked Yang Ming. Even if I offended someone, I can't reach Macau. This is my first time here." Wang Xiaoyan was even more puzzled. "Then I don't know. At least from the surface of the matter, it seems so." Yang Ming shrugged. "You haven't said it yet. Who are you?" Wang Xiaoyan suddenly remembered that Yang Ming hadn't told her why he appeared there today. "Me? Hee, you can treat me as a curious person." Yang Ming smiled indifferently. "Curious person? What do you mean?" Wang Xiaoyan didn't understand. "Now there is no one, only the two of us." "Can you say it?" "Wang Xiaoyan isn't your real name, right?" Yang Ming didn't answer, but he looked at Wang Xiaoyan with a smile. "And, no, I don't think your name is Lu Lei, right?" Wang Xiaoyan smiled and said, "In our line of work, we don't easily tell others our real name, right? But it doesn't matter. Since you have already guessed my identity, why ask me again?" Yang Ming said, "I am also an assassin, but I am a freelance assassin. I don't belong to any organization." Yang Ming didn't lie to her because the king of assassins was originally a solo assassin. He never listened to anyone. "Then, why are you following me?" Wang Xiaoyan didn't doubt Yang Ming's words. Yang Ming's performance was similar to hers in all aspects. They should be in the same line of work. Australian street shopping. "I believe you are not unfamiliar with this magazine, right?" Yang Ming looked at Wang Xiaoyan and said. Wang Xiaoyan's face obviously changed. Yang Ming didn't care about her, but continued, "I accidentally saw this magazine when I was drinking coffee in the coffee shop. It was also by accident. When I flipped through the content, I found a strange advertisement. It published some meaningless symbols. However, as an assassin's sensitivity, I felt that these words were still meaningful, so I took a picture of them in my mobile phone. I asked the waiter in the coffee shop for the previous issues of the magazine and did the same thing. After I went back, I sent these pictures to a friend of mine, and my friend happened to understand the meaning of these symbols, so she translated them to me. That's how I found out about your plan." Of course, Yang Ming didn't say that he knew this code, but he simply fabricated a person. Because Fang Tian said that this was the unique code of the butterfly family, and not just anyone knew it. But obviously, Yang Ming's efforts were in vain. When Wang Xiaoyan learned these codes, no one told her the origin of these codes, so she didn't feel strange that others knew this code. What made Wang Xiaoyan feel strange was that Yang Ming actually had this kind of leisure to care about this kind of thing. As a matter of fact, assassins were generally very indifferent. They belonged to the kind of people who didn't care about things that didn't concern them. Yang Ming just followed her because of his own curiosity. "Is what you said true?" Wang Xiaoyan looked at Yang Ming, trying to see something from Yang Ming's face. "It's true." Yang Ming said affirmatively, "Otherwise, why do you think I am here?" If I were with Xing Xiaoping, I wouldn't save you. If I were with you, this is obviously even more impossible. So, I can only be with myself. Wang Xiaoyan thought about it and felt that what Yang Ming said was very reasonable. It was indeed like this. Yang Ming didn't belong to either her or Xing Xiaoping's gang. Then, thank you for saving me today. Wang Xiaoyan naturally knew how to repay kindness. Since it seemed that Yang Ming did save her accidentally because of curiosity, Wang Xiaoyan had no hostility to Yang Ming at all. It's just a small matter. Yang Ming said faintly, if there is nothing else, I suggest you leave Macau as soon as possible. Although I don't know what grievances Xing Xiaoping or the people behind him have against you, they didn't succeed this time. It is likely that they won't give up. Since they can casually enter your room to set up a bug, it is possible that they can directly enter the room to harm you. Ah! Wang Xiaoyan was shocked. When she heard Yang Ming say this, she suddenly became nervous. Well, I have other things. Do you have a contact information? Since we know each other, we are friends. Let's keep in touch in the future. Yang Ming said. Wang Xiaoyan hesitated. In the end, she picked up the pen and paper on the desk and wrote down a phone number. She handed it to Yang Ming and said, if you are in Songjiang, you can call me at this number. The most taboo for an assassin was to tell others their identity, but Wang Xiaoyan was inexperienced, and Yang Ming was her savior, so Wang Xiaoyan hesitated and told Yang Ming her private number. How do I address you? Yang Ming took the card and asked with a smile. This phone number was really Wang Xiaoyan's private number. Yang Ming's mobile phone was now saved. It seemed that Wang Xiaoyan's vigilance still needed to be improved. My surname is Wang. I didn't lie to you. Wang Xiaoyan didn't say what her name was, but she confirmed her surname. My surname is Yang. Yang Ming smiled at Wang Xiaoyan. Yang. Yang Lei. Wang Xiaoyan asked subconsciously. Of course not. Yang Ming shook his head. You will naturally know my name when you have more contact with me in the future. Well, I have other things to do now. I wish you good luck. On Yang Ming's side, he was still thinking about Zhang Bin and Wang Mei. Otherwise, he could accompany Wang Xiaoyan back to Songjiang and take the opportunity to explore the Black Widow organization. However, in contrast, Zhang Bin's matter was more important. Wang Xiaoyan's matter could only be put aside first. He had already said what he needed to say. Wang Xiaoyan would definitely leave Macau and return to Songjiang immediately. The middle-aged man wore headphones and held a very sophisticated instrument in his hand. He sat in a fish-white RV. The RV was parked in a very secluded place, surrounded by buildings, but the movement at the entrance of Xinhai Hotel could be clearly monitored through the gaps. Squeak. Kaka. Quang. A loud noise came, almost deafening the middle-aged man. He took off the headphones and kept rubbing his ears. Did the young lady find out? The middle-aged man said with a wry smile, it's over. I can't hear what the young lady said this time. How can I explain it to the master? Yes, the bugs in Wang Xiaoyan's room in Xinhai Hotel were all installed by the middle-aged man. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were both wrong about this. The middle-aged man sighed and turned to the rear compartment of the RV. The rear compartment of this RV was fully enclosed and completely isolated from the outside world. If the lights were not turned on inside, it would be dark. The middle-aged man turned on the switch of the lights inside the compartment, and the compartment immediately lit up. On the floor of the compartment, there was a person and a corpse lying on the ground. If Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were present, they would recognize that these two people were Xing Xiaoping's bodyguards. One of them was killed by Yang Ming with a gun, and the other was kicked in the acupoint and was in a coma. The middle-aged man turned on the RV's faucet and filled the basin with cold water. Then, he grabbed the unconscious bodyguard by the collar, lifted him up, and pressed him into the water. He repeated this several times. Cough, cough. There was a violent cough, and the bodyguard was awakened by the cold water. Humph. The middle-aged man snorted and threw the bodyguard to the ground. The bodyguard had just woken up, and he looked around in horror, sizing up his surroundings. Say, who sent you? The middle-aged man did not wait for the bodyguard to recover and asked. What do you mean, who sent me? Who are you? Chapter 847. The middle-aged man was really annoyed. The guy in front of him was really unmoved. No matter what he asked him, he said he didn't know, or he didn't know. Many cruel methods were used on him, but the bodyguard still kept silent. However, he had trained in kung fu for a long time, and his skin and flesh were already very thick. He could still endure this kind of physical pain. Okay. Since you don't want to talk, then I will use this knife to cut off your flesh piece by piece. Let's see if you will talk or not. The middle-aged man really didn't know what to do. Otherwise, he wouldn't use this move. Humph, the bodyguard snorted coldly. What did he want him to say? If he said it, even if the middle-aged man let him go, he couldn't escape death when he went back. It was better not to say it. Maybe there was still a way out. Thinking of this, the bodyguard looked at the structure of the RV with the corner of his eyes, waiting for an opportunity to escape. The middle-aged man's eyes were so sharp that he immediately saw the bodyguard's intention. He sneered and said, "Don't think about escaping. It's useless." The bodyguard delayed for so long because he was actually preparing for himself. He was kicked by Yang Ming, so he was really unconscious. Even if he woke up, he was still groggy. Now, he finally recovered some vitality. While delaying with the middle-aged man, the bodyguard was also estimating the strength of the middle-aged man. He didn't practice his kung fu for nothing. The previous punishments were simply trivial in his view. It didn't hurt at all. It couldn't hurt him at all. Although the middle-aged man also knew some interrogation methods, he didn't learn acupuncture points professionally like Yang Ming. He didn't have any other methods except for brute force. This kind of method was okay for ordinary people, but it was a bit difficult to deal with a bodyguard who was not afraid of being beaten. The middle-aged man was actually helpless. He wanted to get some valuable information from the bodyguard, but he didn't expect him to be so stubborn. Just as the middle-aged man was thinking about giving the bodyguard a hard time, the bodyguard suddenly jumped up from the ground and punched the middle-aged man. This punch almost exhausted his strength. If it hit the middle-aged man, even if he wasn't injured, he wouldn't be able to recover for a while. Just as he was rejoicing, an accident happened. The black muzzle of the gun was pointed at his head. The middle-aged man sneered disdainfully and raised the gun. "If you move again, I will kill you." The bodyguard had no choice but to stop his fist in the air, unable to move. He had been careless. He had thought that he could strike, but he hadn't expected the other party to have a gun. No matter how powerful his fists and legs were, he was no match for guns. In fact, if the middle-aged man took the bodyguard back to the headquarters, there were many ways to make him talk, but the difficult part was how to get back. It was not a problem for the middle-aged man to go back by himself, but it was a bit troublesome to bring someone with him. There was no other way except for smuggling. The middle-aged man didn't dare to make the decision. He first gave the bodyguard a shot of sleeping pills and let him sleep. Then, he called Butler Moo. After Butler Moo listened to this matter, he attached great importance to it. After consulting the master, he told the middle-aged man, "You first look after this person. Don't let him run away. Don't let anything happen. The master will arrange for someone to go to Macau to pick you up. All right, the middle-aged man replied. Since the master personally arranged it, there should be no mistake. Zheng Xiaoping saw that Yang Ming was extremely brave and killed the 2 professional bodyguards sent by the boss in an instant. He was suddenly scared. He knew that even if he stayed, it was useless. The 2 powerful bodyguards were finished. It was useless for him to stay. Zheng Xiaoping walked into a very narrow room with fear. A man who couldn't see how old he was sitting in the room. He couldn't see his face because he covered it up. How did you come back by yourself? The man's voice was not loud, but it was very strict, which made Zheng Xiaoping very scared. Boss, the 2 bodyguards were killed by a Qing Yao Jin who appeared out of nowhere. Zheng Xiaoping carefully told the story to the boss. What? They were all killed. The man's voice raised a few degrees as if he didn't believe Zheng Xiaoping's words. The 2 bodyguards were the 2 trump cards in his hand. They were actually killed just like that. These 2 people were traitors of the Shaolin Temple. They learned Kung Fu in the Shaolin Temple when they were young. Later, they did not abide by the rules of the temple. They fought and blackmailed outside and were swept out of the temple. If the 2 hadn't committed a crime, the man wouldn't have been able to easily subdue them. However, the man knew that Zheng Xiaoping would not lie to him. Although Zheng Xiaoping was not courageous, he was absolutely loyal to him, so he changed his tone. Who is it? I don't know, but it is definitely not that Yang Ming. Zheng Xiaoping said, maybe it is someone brought by Wang Xiaoyan, that's not right. When Wang Xiaoyan came over, I already checked. She was alone. The man frowned with some doubts and suddenly said, I understand. It turns out that there is a master hidden by Wang Xiaoyan's side. Damn, did I say that? How can the miss of the Wang family not have someone to protect her? Zheng Xiaoping didn't know what the boss was talking about, but he didn't dare to ask. He just stood carefully by the side. Forget it. I don't blame you for this. It was my negligence. The man sighed. I thought this was a good opportunity, but now, let alone killing 2 birds with 1 stone, I didn't even do one thing. It seems that it won't be so easy to kill them in the future. Thank you, boss, for your forgiveness. Zheng Xiaoping said quickly. He could only say this because he didn't understand the rest of what the boss said, but he thought that it should be the boss's enemy. You go and do your consultant. You don't need to do anything in the future. The man waved his hand and said. Boss, you don't want me anymore. Zheng Xiaoping was shocked and asked hurriedly. You think too much. The man said faintly, you have been exposed. I definitely can't use you as bait next time, so you just work hard in the future. Zheng Xiaoping was relieved when he heard the man's words. It seemed that the boss didn't blame him, and he didn't have to do such dangerous things in the future. After Zheng Xiaoping left, the man slowly stood up, opened the curtains, looked out the window, and faintly sighed. I thought I could easily get rid of them this time, but it seems that I thought too simply. As for whether the 2 bodyguards were really dead, the man didn't want to care. If they weren't dead, they must be disabled. They had lost their value. Moreover, he wasn't afraid that these 2 people would fall into the hands of Wang Xiaoyan. These 2 people didn't know much, so it didn't matter if they fell into the hands of others. Yang Ming returned to the hotel. Zhang Bin and Wang Mei were waiting for him anxiously. Wang Mei's parents were in the hands of Lu Jihao. She felt flustered in her heart no matter what she did. Bro, you are finally back. Zhang Bin saw that Yang Ming didn't come back. He wanted to make a call, but he thought about it again. If Yang Ming had nothing to do, he would definitely return to the hotel. It was useless to call. And, how is the situation? Yang Ming didn't rest. After taking off his coat, he sat on the bed and planned to study what to do about Lu Jihao. Brother Yang. Wang Mei also shouted timidly. The courage she had when she was joking with Yang Ming was completely gone at the moment. Don't call me Brother Yang. Zhang Bin and I are familiar with each other. He calls me bro. In fact, it's just a joke. Yang Ming waved his hand. You and Lei are sisters. You can call me Yang Ming in the future. N. Wang Mei nodded after listening. It seems that Yang Ming still values Huang Lei very much. Wang Mei couldn't help but be happy for Huang Lei. This is the note left by Lu Jihao. Bro, take a look. Zhang Bin said as he took out a note and handed it to Yang Ming. This was found on the table of Wang Mei's parents' house. Yang Ming took the note and read it. Wang Mei's parents are now in my hands. If you want them to be fine, ask Yang Ming to come to me personally. There was only one Lu on the note, but the three of them could guess that this Lu referred to Lu Jihao. Perhaps he didn't want to leave evidence that would be used against him by the police in the future. Ask me to go. Yang Ming looked at the note, baffled. Yeah, bro, what do we do now? Zhang Bin nodded and asked. Do you have Lu Jihao's phone number? Yang Ming asked, so, you give me the phone number. I'll call and ask first. His phone number is 6644. Wang Mei naturally remembered Lu Jihao's phone number. She quickly said and handed her phone to Yang Ming. Yang Ming took the phone and nodded. He dialed Lu Jihao's number. After the phone rang 3 times, it was picked up. Lu Jihao's voice sounded, Bitch, you finally turned on your phone. I am Yang Ming. If you have anything to say, just say it. Yang Ming ignored Lu Jihao and said directly. Yang Ming. Lu Jihao was obviously stunned. He didn't expect Yang Ming to really call him. In his opinion, although the relationship between Yang Ming and Zhang Bin was good, it didn't necessarily mean that Yang Ming was very good with Wang Mei. To be honest, if Wang Mei's parents were caught, it was really unknown whether Yang Ming could come or not. Lu Jihao was also forced to do this. Last night, he found a lot of people to check the hotels, but he didn't find Yang Ming. After receiving Ouyang Junwei's money, he couldn't not do anything, right? Early this morning, Ouyang Junwei called again and asked if he had found the whereabouts of Yang Ming. Lu Jihao could only say perfunctorily that it would be soon. Lu Jihao knew that if there was still no news from him today, then Ouyang Junwei would definitely doubt his ability to do things. In this way, he would definitely not take care of him in the future. So Lu Jihao was anxious. At this time, one of his men stood up and gave Lu Jihao such a bad idea. Chapter 848. Lu Jihao could only do this with the idea of giving it a try. To be honest, Lu Jihao had no confidence in doing this. At least, if he were Yang Ming, he would not be stupid enough to go through fire and water for a woman that his friend just met. That was just too stupid. However, Lu Jihao had no other way. At least there was some hope. Now Lu Jihao could only hope that Yang Ming was a guy who was swayed by his emotions. At this time, he suddenly received a call from Yang Ming. Lu Jihao's inner excitement could be imagined. He even stuttered a little. After adjusting for a while, he said, Yang Ming. You finally called me. Humph, don't think that you can hide from me with that little trick. You took the check back, right? Yang Ming thought for a moment. He knew that Lu Jihao would guess it sooner or later, so he simply didn't argue. Even if he argued, it was useless. Lu Jihao wouldn't believe it. It was better to admit it. Yes, I took it. Humph, good method. Lu Jihao sneered and thought, damn, as Ouyang Junwei expected, the check was taken away by Yang Ming. It seems that I really bet right. Maybe not only can I get Ouyang Junwei's bounty in business, but I can also get a sum of money from Yang Ming. Don't talk nonsense. What do you want? Yang Ming did not have time to beat around the bush with Lu Jihao. In his opinion, Lu Jihao was just a small character who was nothing more than seeking money. Now, it's not what I want. It depends on what you do. Since Yang Ming was willing to call, it meant that he still couldn't ignore Wang Mei's parents. Therefore, Lu Jihao had capital in his hands, and he spoke generously. You gave me the check and took it back. What do you think you should do? Where are you? I will return the check to you. Yang Ming had too many things to do in Macau this time. He had no time to care about this kind of small fry. If it were normal times, Yang Ming would directly make him disappear from the earth. Return it to me. Just return it to me. Lu Jihao suddenly felt that he should extort more from Yang Ming, so he said, this time I changed my mind. I want 20 million. Yang Ming couldn't help but find it funny after listening. In fact, 10 million and 20 million were basically no different for Yang Ming. Yang Ming was just amused. Why didn't he ask for a little more to provoke him completely? However, Yang Ming was not too angry about the 20 million limit. Now was not the time to create new problems. All right, I promise you. Yang Ming pretended to hesitate for a while before he said. Since you are so straightforward, I won't embarrass Wang Mei's parents. Call me tomorrow morning, and I will tell you where to trade. Yang Ming. In any case, Wang Mei's parents were fine. She was so angry, and little Fox Fairy began to squeeze Huang Lele again. Where are your masters? Why aren't they here? Let him come out. He is busy now. He has no time to play with you. Huang Lele said. I think you can't invite him, right? Little Fox Fairy sent a crooked face emoji. Nonsense. He is my boyfriend. If I ask him to come, he will come. Huang Lele sent a bomb over. Then you ask him to come. How could little Fox Fairy believe it? She thought that Huang Lele was bragging. We are going to sleep now. I don't have time for you. Huang Lele was so angry that she directly forced the computer to shut down. Yang Ming had already thought about Wang Mei's matter. If she was willing to continue to be a flight attendant, he would let Ho Jinhan go to the local airline company and let her work there. If she didn't want to, there were other things that could be done. If it really didn't work, she could also take care of Zhang Bin. It was Huang Lele. Yang Ming had never thought about her arrangement. Huang Lele was different from Wang Mei. So far, Yang Ming still didn't know what Huang Lele's family was like, but judging from the scale of Huawei Casino, her family was not small. It was just that he heard that the Huang family's industry and headquarters were not in Macau or the mainland. Yang Ming couldn't investigate. After all, his power was not so big. But in any case, Huang Lele had a home in Macau. If he let her go back to Songjiang with him, would she agree? This was a problem that gave him a headache. Although Huang Lele flew the route between Macau and Donghai, the plane only stopped for a while in Donghai. It would not even stay overnight before it flew back to Macau. Huang Lele's vacation was also in Macau, so he would only see Huang Lele for a few hours. Yang Ming shook his head. He still had to study this matter with Huang Lele personally. It was useless for him to think about it. Lu Jihao got the news that Yang Ming would come back to find him tomorrow. He was so excited that he danced for joy. The task that Ouyang Junwei gave him was completed. As soon as Yang Ming hung up, Lu Jihao dialed Ouyang Junwei's phone number. Brother Lu, it's so late. Why are you calling me? Ouyang Junwei picked up the phone and asked with a smile. Big brother Ouyang, I have news of Yang Ming here. Lu Jihao said excitedly. What? You found him? Ouyang Junwei was stunned and then said happily, Great. Tell me quickly, where is he? I don't know where he is. Lu Jihao said this and deliberately paused. However, I know that he will definitely come to me tomorrow morning. What do you mean? Ouyang Junwei asked with some doubts. Things are like this. Lu Jihao told Ouyang Junwei about his kidnapping of Wang Mei's parents. Well done. Ouyang Junwei laughed after listening and praised Lu Jihao. You have made a great contribution this time. I will remember it in my heart. You can rest assured that there will be plenty of benefits for you in the future. How can I not do my best for the task that big brother Ouyang gave me? Lu Jihao said flatteringly, Right, what about the check that Yang Ming sent tomorrow? That check is what you deserve. Just accept it. Ouyang Junwei said, Not only that, but I will also give you another reward for your hard work. Thank you, big brother Ouyang. Lu Jihao said excitedly. This is 20 million yuan. Plus the money that Ouyang Junwei gave me before, and the reward for my hard work, I should be able to get 30 million yuan, right? Lu Jihao felt happy when he thought about it. Moreover, once the matter was done, Ouyang Junwei would take care of a few more of his business. Then, he would have everything. Never mind the problem of the company's successor, even if he went out alone, it would not be a problem. Thinking about his beautiful future, Lu Jihao was a little bit on cloud nine. Well, this time I must reward the man who gave me the idea. This is really a good idea. Chapter 849. Father, my friend here just called and said that he had an appointment with Yang Ming. We will meet tomorrow morning. After Ouyang Junwei hung up the phone, he came to his father's room and spoke to his father respectfully. That Lu Jihao. Is what he said true? Ouyang Kanki's voice was very calm. Yes, this person is very greedy. As long as I give him enough benefits, he can do anything. At the moment, Ouyang Junwei told his father, Ouyang Junwei, about Lu Jihao capturing Wang Mei's parents and forcing Yang Ming to come and deliver money. Oh. Your friend is quite bad, but he is really good at being bad. Ouyang Kanki couldn't help but praise after listening. Seeing his father smile, Ouyang Junwei also smiled slightly. I promised him that after the matter is done, I will take care of his company's business. And you can decide on these little things. You don't have to tell me. Ouyang Kanki was obviously not interested in these trivial matters. What he wanted most now was to give his youngest son a reward. Ouyang Junyuan's finger was gone. Although it did not affect his normal life, it was still very ugly. With the Ouyang family's family background, this did not affect Ouyang Junyuan's ability to pick up girls. However, this resentment was difficult to swallow. This Yang Ming was simply too much of a bully. Ouyang Kanki felt that if he didn't teach him a lesson, he wouldn't know how many eyes he had. Never mind the Ouyang family's status in Province P. As the leader of the Hawkeye group, how could he allow Yang Ming to be like this? He didn't put the Ouyang family in his eyes. He even dared to provoke the assassin group. He was simply tired of living. But... Father, if our people kill Yang Ming tomorrow, Lu Jihao will definitely know about it. What should we do if he speaks about it? Ouyang Junwei was a little worried. If he speaks about it. Then he is an accomplice. Ouyang Kanki said indifferently, besides, he is a native of Macau. We will leave after we finish. If he speaks about it, he is the one who is unlucky. Ouyang Junwei nodded. His father was right. If Lu Jihao said this, it would not be good for him. First of all, the kidnapping incident was enough to make him suffer. Moreover, Yang Ming was lured here by him tomorrow, so he was an accomplice. After Ouyang Junwei returned to his room, Ouyang Kanki called his capable subordinate, Delay Man 001, to his room. "Boss, are you looking for me?" Delay Man 001 was eating mutton skewers in the room at the moment. When he received a call from Ouyang Kanki, he hurried over. "How is it? Are you confident tomorrow?" Ouyang Kanki glanced at Delay Man 001 and asked. "Hey, isn't he just a little kid?" Delay Man 001 said indifferently, "Tomorrow, I will definitely kill him in one move." After Ouyang Kanki listened, he frowned. "Don't underestimate your opponent. This Yang Ming has some kung fu." "So what if he has kung fu?" Chapter 850. Yang Ming didn't care about this kind of thing. If they wanted to quarrel, they could quarrel. It had nothing to do with him. In a hotel, there were all kinds of strange people and things. What they thought was not something Yang Ming could control. Yang Ming also felt that 50 yuan for soup dumplings was a bit expensive, but the hotel sold the grade. This kind of thing couldn't be measured by value. It was like the same plate of spicy tofu, which was sold for 3 yuan at a street stall, was more than 30 yuan in a big hotel. It was the same principle. Yang Ming shook his head and was about to leave with Zhang Bin. Unexpectedly, the situation behind him changed a little. The waiter's hesitation made the glasses man even more arrogant. "You group of East Asian sick men are like this. You like to cheat. No wonder there are counterfeit goods everywhere." These words were a bit unpleasant to hear. Yang Ming suddenly frowned and stopped his footsteps. He wanted to ask the glasses man which country he was from. However, before Yang Ming spoke, someone asked first, "What is a sick man from East Asia? Which country are you from?" "I am a Japanese Chinese," the glasses man said proudly. "Fuck his mother, it turned out to be a traitor, beat him to death." I don't know who shouted, but the restaurant immediately became chaotic. The sound of ping pong pots and pans became one, accompanied by the sound of the glasses man screaming. Yang Ming was stunned, and then he smiled. No matter where and where one was, one's patriotism would not change. Yang Ming wanted to continue to walk forward, but Zhang Bin wanted to join in the fun. But when he thought that Wang Mei's parents had not been rescued yet, he obediently followed Yang Ming upstairs. Back in the room, Yang Ming saw that Wang Mei was embarrassed to speak, so he took the initiative to ask for her phone and dialed Lu Jihao's cell phone. Lu Jihao also got up very early today. He also attached great importance to this matter. If it was successful, then he could be considered to have made a great contribution in front of Ouyang Junwei. In fact, Lu Jihao also thought about the consequences of Yang Ming coming here today. Lu Jihao was still very familiar with Ouyang Junwei's character and the forces behind him. Therefore, Yang Ming came here today, and he basically couldn't go back. And he, Lu Jihao, had become an accomplice to the murder. However, Lu Jihao weighed the pros and cons and felt that it was worth it. First, Yang Ming was just a foreigner. If he died, then he died. As long as it was well concealed, there would not be much of a problem. The melodious ringtone of the mobile phone. Is this Yang Ming? Lu Jihao picked up the phone. He knew that the person who called could not be Wang Mei. It must be Yang Ming. And, it's me. The check is ready. Yang Ming said. Check. Perhaps Lu Jihao was afraid that he would bring someone, or he was considering other safety factors. Yang Ming went upstairs along the stairs in the villa hall. Just halfway up, he heard Lu Jihao's voice. Yang Ming, you are finally here. Did you bring the money? As for whether Yang Ming would live or die, Lu Jihao didn't care much. Yang Ming had no personal grievances with him. He cared more about the money in Yang Ming's hands, so when Yang Ming arrived, the first thing he did was to ask about this. I brought it. Where are Wang Mei's parents? Yang Ming looked up and saw Lu Jihao. You can rest assured. They are fine now. Lu Jihao said, give me the money, and I will let them go. Lu Jihao didn't intend to do anything to Yang Ming's parents. Now that the money was in his hands, of course, he would let go of Wang Mei's parents. Killing Yang Ming was also done by Ouyang Junwei, but if Lu Jihao were to kill someone, he wouldn't do it. Moreover, it was killing two dispensable people. He wouldn't do it. Yang Ming nodded. Okay, I will believe you once. The money is here. Yang Ming walked up a few steps and put the suitcase in his hand in front of Lu Jihao.